DreamHack Winter, welcome to the Jönköping Major. That's what I'm talking about. We kicked off proceedings here in the playoffs yesterday. 8 teams, and now down to our 4 elites, ready to battle it out in front of this live crowd here, and for you watching at home, to potentially book their place in our grand finals. I just want to make sure that we have an audience once again and ask, are you ready? Now, our 4 teams are competing for several different things. Of course, money is one thing. That amazing trophy over there by the desk is another. And regional pride is right at the top of the agenda too. NA, EU, and LATAM teams are all gunning it out to potentially lift that trophy. So I just want to measure the interest in each of our regions here in our audience here today. So if you are a W7M fan, please make some noise. I got a feeling I might know where this is going, so I'm gonna keep going. Any Soniqs fans in the house? Okay, there's a couple. What about Team Liquid? All right, that's good, that's good. Is there another team? I'm trying to think if there's another team. Any BDS fans in here? I thought as much. So, we're about to kick off our first semi-final. Are we ready to introduce our 2 teams onto the stage? Well, I can tell you that we're getting them prepped up and ready to make their way out here. So before they do, that means we've got a little bit more time to make some even more noise, all right? So I'm gonna test you even more. I do this at every single major. I'm going to count down from 3, and honestly, please, I've been hearing rumors all around the place that EU crowds can't go with NA crowds, LATAM crowds, and beyond, right? So I want to make sure that we let everybody know at home that we are the loudest, all right? So I'm going to count you in. 3, 2, 1. Make some noise! Stop! Make some noise! All right, we've still got a bit of time. We're getting our players ready. So I'm just gonna keep on going with you guys because I'm having the time of my life. So before we have 2 teams battling it out, we may as well have 2 sides of the audience going head to head. I wanna make sure who is the loudest. I've just been told Soniqs ready, but I wanna have a little bit more fun. Just quickly, all right? Is the right side the loudest? Is the left side the loudest? Woo! Ah! Hold on a minute. What about the right side? Left? All right. It's time to get into this. I'm going for the left side, sorry guys. But it is time. Gracing the semi-finals stage for the very first time, armed with a man who knows what it takes to win big in Sweden. Give it up for Soniqs! And their opponents are EU's last team standing. Can they put both feet firmly in their first ever major grand final? It's BDS! that you watching at home, I know that every single member of our audience here live in Sweden are ready to get into this one. But before we do, let's see our two semi-finalists facing off.
Wolves did surprise us a bit, but we put everything into the game, and the team was feeling good. The communication was very, very good. I can't wait to play the semi-finals. I think Soniqs is a very, very great team. They surprised a lot, I think, through the NAL season and the group stage. We will respect them as much as I think they will respect us. It will be a great game, and we can't wait to play it.
I mean, it feels great, you know. I think beating TSM more than anything probably feels even better because I think we're starting to build a little bit of a rivalry, you know. We're the only NA teams here, they beat us in NAL, so we not only have something to prove to all of our fans, like internationally, that we can actually go far in majors, but we want to make sure we can beat all the, you know, NAL teams, so it feels great. I want to smoke Shaiko. We know if we play a game, we're the best team in the tournament. You know, that's no doubt to me. We just got to make sure that we keep the vibes up, we keep the vibes rolling, and we make sure to not get in our head or beat anybody down.
You better be ready, guys, because we are.
If you guys aren't impressed yet about how good we've done, then just be ready to play us.
And it's time for us to kick off our game. Final preparations before we get it through. That was a great introduction. Thank you very much, Steve, on the stage there. Was hyping everybody up. We're back on the desk. I'm Ostamatic, your host. With me are Afama and Jack, Monsieur Fresh, as we're calling you nowadays. But let's start talking about these two teams. We're separating Soniqs and BDS from the rest because they are the top two of their regions in NA and in EU, of course, respectively. So now it's a challenge who can represent the region in that grand final. And to talk first about NA, our resident expert here, Afama, Soniqs, what do you think about?
I think so far they've been looking good. I think they're here to take the experience, right? They brought in Geo instead of Super, brought in Gunner in place of Yeti, around a new vision, a vision that is way less step-by-step traditional Siege and much more flexible and closer to the meta. Once again, I feel like that's kind of what every team has been doing. But around a strong core of players in Rexon, Grixer, and Kanzen that are all really combining frag-heavy players.
Can they smoke Shaiko?
They can. I mean, that's the thing about Soniqs is if you look at how that core three players is amongst one of the best front threes in Siege. Because I kind of consider Siege to be kind of front three, back two now, the way it's playing out. And I think that Geo and Gunner addition, it had the potential to rock the boat, to kind of disrupt them for a stage and then see where they were at afterwards. They've not. They've got all the way to the major. They've got to the semi-finals. They look a much more complete team now. And sure, that front three, on their day, could absolutely smoke anybody, never mind Shaiko.
And about that core player, I think what is really important to notice is that Rexon is one of, if not the best entry player in NA. Grixer is one of, if not the best second entry player in NA. In terms of lurking, baiting a little bit, he's really good. I know what I'm talking about. He baited me a couple of times, all right?
Yeah.
And Kanzen, you know, recruited first as a flex support player. He evolved into so much more. He's playing more aggressive. He's picking up Sledge. The core three players are so complete, and then they've built around that. And the Soniqs is looking revamped and really good.
Look, I'm sorry here, but we're all talking about Shaiko, but did we forget about Likefak?
We did not forget about Likefak. Like, this team, this BDS team, and now, I talked about a complete team for Soniqs, right? BDS, they were a complete team. They were going deep in tournaments. How long have we gone through the last 2 years saying, you know, Jacob saying BDS takes it, and the whole debacle about BDS should have won an international tournament by now. They added Likefak, and they now have another dimension. I didn't even think that was possible for BDS. They've added another dimension where Likefak can play Nook. He can play basically anything opportunistic that he sees. But the interview with Alems that he did with Ian afterwards on yesterday, where he said, actually, Likefak helps me out with a lot of the IGLing, and he'll play any flexible. He was playing Gridlock yesterday as well. So he's flexible enough to jump in the team side of things, but if the team side of things is okay, he can also go off an opportunity spot. That is immense value that they've got out of that player that's brought them up a notch.
Yeah, like I said before, the guy is complete. Like it's not only frags, it's comms, it's energy, it's a new vision, more about adaptation once again. So all of this helped BDS, who I think were in a little bit of a slump in 2022, not as good as we expected them to be, to finally reach new heights, win Japan Invitational, and come here, get out of the group of death. I think so far, in terms of cycle, because Liquefact was such a plug and play, BDS might be closer to favorites here than Soniqs that had to rebuild completely around Geo's vision.
I mean, both of these two somehow rebuilt around the player and then made it all happen in 2 months in the middle of competition. That's very impressive. And it's the furthest that any one of these two teams has gotten is semis. Never in the grand final. Never a final is the sentence. So now, where will this best of 3 series be played on? That's the next question. Our map veto is up and ready. Let's put it up on the screen for everybody to see. And as always, 9 map pool that we have here in competition. We ban out until we have 3. BDS will pick first. They'll take us to Border. Next up is Soniqs going for Clubhouse. Clubhouse? What? Wait a second. Sonic picks Clubhouse against BDS? What? That's ballsy as hell. Then finally, Bank as our decider. Look, if you're ask me, Damo Milos, I think BDS would win on any one of these maps. What's Sonic doing here?
Oh, I don't know. Milos. You know that I love to prep out and show my preferences 1 to 9 for BDS, right? I'm just going to read you the top 3 preferences that I have in terms of maps for BDS. Their number 1 preference, Clubhouse, picked by Sonic. Their number 2 preference, Border, picked by themselves. And their number 3 preference, Bank, is going to be the decider. I'm struggling to get my head around. Maybe it's just confidence for Soniqs that they just, because also these 3 maps are very high preference, or well, especially the first 2, Border and Clubhouse, high preference for Soniqs as well. Maybe they've just not worried about the opponents to focus on themselves, but that's a dangerous game.
Yeah, I was so surprised when I saw they actually banned Oregon.
Yeah.
Soniqs banned Oregon.
Yeah.
Oregon is one of their best maps, and not such a good map for BDS. Maybe it was because of what they saw against Wolves yesterday, but like in terms of playstyle, BDS didn't do anything special in Oregon. It was just super slow, defenses, close, limited, you know, like nothing too impressive.
Let's focus on Border. Map 1 for just a moment here. Soniqs starting off on the defense, not mistaken here. And I'm wondering, is there anything that they could bring? Because Shaiko literally has a spot on the map called after him. A Shaiko spot. Everybody knows how to play around the pillar because of what he's shown everyone. Does Soniqs have what it takes to take him out?
Yeah, I think they absolutely have what it takes. They wouldn't be there otherwise. I also think, though, the most important is going to be to try and get into the building. I don't want to get into another Villa against TSM situation where Sonic is struggling to even set up their attack. They're not even getting the first control, right? I wouldn't be surprised if BDS bans Monty on this, actually, because I think the best strategy in Border and defense is to stop the opponent to get in. And how did they fix that? Soniqs yesterday, bringing Monty.
I was just about to say, if it wasn't such a high preference map for BDS, if we just put that to a side for now, and we actually think about how the map plays out, it's all about that initial ground control, about the defenders getting very aggressive onto the attackers. So if you're going kind of, you just want to have a bloodbath, you just want to have a gunfight, and you just want to contest the early entry, if you rely on your front 3, like Soniqs will, against Shaiko and EFAC, you know, it's just going to be an absolute brawl between these 2 teams at the entry points.
But Border is still played more or less like how it was in its older version. You're cutting off rotation angles, and that allows you just an inch to go and implant. Do you think that you need so much map control from the inside to make this map work, at least on the top floor?
Yeah, the biggest problem I have when I'm on defense on Border is that as soon as you start giving a little bit of zone control, that's where the guys can already execute. The map is so small. So that's why fighting off the opponents before they get in is so important.
What side do you think is going to be toughest for any one of these 2 teams to break through? Remember, Soniqs on the defense first.
I think the defense it is all about going to be about that first half, right? Is because the defense is traditionally, and these 2 teams have the same attack and defense win rates on this map. They're both very comfortable attacking it, 7% and 60% defense win rate. Both are literally identical. They both love to play the map, but I think the defense is the defining factor. And like we said, it's all about that aggression. Particularly, it's basically every site that you're always fighting for CCTV or Armory or the top floor of Border, and it's then key entrance points. It's the Armory breach, it's the East Stairs, it's the Archives door, and the fights around that, and it's whether Soniqs can set up. Because BDS have that dynamism where yeah, you can do that, but then EFAC just crouch walk into sight on Nook, and he's in sight and he's killed everybody. So it's going to be very interesting. It's that first minute of the round.
There's just one thing I want to add on this, is the way BDS played defense, because defense is the deciding factor.
Yeah.
The way BDS played defense yesterday against Wolves was all about time wasting. Super slow-paced, and they were only aggressing straight before they execute. On border, they will need to be aggressive and proactive all the time. So I need to see a change in their play style in defense for them to win this map.
Okay, so power positions that everybody needs to look at when it comes to border, premeditated spaces that you can also use to nade the players out if you're an attacker playing against the defense, trying to deal with them. But you're talking about, Likefak, Shaiko, what they can play, Renshiro that can hold down angles, Alems guiding them through the game. What is the equivalent of that setup on the Sonic side?
I think Gio is going to bring that layer of, shot calling or IGLing or vision or whatever you want to say. But the adaptation, that's going to be onto him. Especially as border is super good for situational operators. A Capitao is super good. A Ying is super good. There's so much you can do because you can access a lot through the windows. So I would say Gio is the equivalent.
Yeah, it's Gio, and it's all around the communication, the teamwork. I know that we did a telestration yesterday in the BDS game, the TSM Sonics game, where it was about how they were pushing and navigating players into crossfires. Border's super important for that. If you think about that break room door and east stairs, wherever you can cut them rotates up on the top floor. And it's been flexible enough to do it, like you say, with the Ying, with any pressure that you could have, a Monty. So the bans are going to be quite interesting from that front.
All right, I think our game is ready. Is it, production? Can you give me a heads up? Are we ready to go? Yes, we are ready to go. So, hey, Jönköping, hello everybody, can you hear me? There it is. Bikini is also joining us here at DreamHack Winter, so say hello. Anyways, let's get this show on the road. On to our game. Our casters are ready. It's Hap and M. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Milos and the desk. And yes, we are ready. Ready for EU to maybe go home? I don't know. It's been a while since BDS has been in this spot. I'm Fluke, that's Hap.
Still hasn't changed, and it won't. Now, remember, we talked about this yesterday.
Yep.
BDS going up against Wolves. They never really lose against Wolves. You know what is the same kind of facts we can say about this game?
What?
BDS has never lost from the Sonics, so why should they start today?
It's one of those things right now, because as much as we can throw maps up in the air, map statistics up in the air, we know that there's big brains behind Sonics. We know that there's a lot that goes into all of the minute steps, and by their word, their map pool is the reason they are where they are. So, Sonics, now's the time to prove it. Border, the removal of Nook and Oster, that's pretty standard. Let's see what's next.
Give the floor to the crowd. Mira. Also not too uncommon to see. It is an operator, of course, that we have seen been banned for majority of a year.
I love this.
I love it too. And also that one makes a lot of sense in this first map. Now, do not expect any of those crazy bans to come out straight away. If a problem starts to appear over this course of border, probably the next map is going to be seeing somewhat more of a counter ban specific to those situations. Let's just say Monty, because we know how powerful Monty could have been in Clubhouse.
I mean, he brings a level. He brings
a big level, yeah.
He brings something different to the approach here. Border, I think, as the weirdest way of putting it, with how the map structures itself, with how aggressive it can be, it's almost like the TDM warm-up for what I think is going to be more slower, steadier club, a little bit more of that embanked with some of that fire. I don't know, I feel like this is going to get scrappy.
We definitely have the most explosive map as the very first, and it can only end up well, let's say it like that. Sonics, they start off on the defense. It is going to be bathroom tellers first. Lots of the hatches are being reinforced here. They do not want to give BDS a way in, or at least make them work for it. And if you look over to the right-hand side of your screen, currently there is going to be no heart breach of, actually, there is going to be ace on the board, so 2 of those cells could be used to open up a hatch, but that's not going to be ideal. Instead, I believe Leak Effect might be bringing the heart breach gadgets. No, also not the case, so gonna have to make a decision here. Are we going to open up hatches or the wall? And that might aid Sonics later down the line.
It really does come down to the extension of the defense. How far are you going to push yourself out here? The starting strike is, I guess, an answer to that. The width is what they want. BDS want to try and get some control over the tension, force themselves across the beeper, and the narrow drive onto, well, and maybe underneath 90 as well. It starts as this, though, finding out exactly where they go. If you're unfamiliar with Border, well, you can sort of go point to point in all of about 10 seconds in terms of a gunfight. You really have this, long angles, long openers that BDS are sort of prodding and prying their way through, but really trying to work out exactly what the structure is inside. They know that there's angles down towards the construction zone. They know that the middle metal stairs is going to be a battleground, and Soniqs seem to know it as well. Gunner, he gets in, steps the first down, and Alem's off the board.
Very unfortunate death for BDS. He tried to rappel in, lost his life as a result. This is why you often see players go for a bit of a different approach from an angle that is known to be safe. Soniqs, of course, quite aggressive with the opening there. Lack of a drone potentially to come through, which is why that pickup came through relatively unpunished for Gunner. So well done by Soniqs. Now, they just pull back a little bit. They do not need to be as aggressive as they were at the start, and see and look if they can find some BDS players off guard.
At least they have the backup soft destruction, and he's going to start the work. Just saw the back of a player down there, and there it is. He finds Geo, and they pick up Kansan on the swing round as well. That was one on the level and one just below, and suddenly Soniqs has to start to rebuild. It's a fight. A scrappy one just out here, and the run out of Rexen gets caught out by Renshiro. Has a bit more of the control. Grixer, he's tucked, waiting for the inevitable, and the inevitable is close to swinging around the corner, but there is still support and a minute left. BDS do not have to rush. Grixer is the man that has to. There is the fight. It's over the top of the shield. It's over both sides of it. Can Grixer escape without the rest of it? He knows that they're sort of watching all of this. The swing's going to come round. Can he get a bite out the back of it? The grenade and the throw around over the top. It's pretty pitch perfect, but they don't quite know where he slipped to. He's blinded. So are they, but they do find it. Shaiko.
Well done by BDS there. They knew the player was still going to be out there. They held his exit route and knew that they had the opportunity to isolate and take him down. Leaving only up to Gunner, the man who had the opening kill of the series. And it's Shaiko that shuts him down. That's 1-0 for BDS. And this is kind of a team we have seen between them more often, even when it, doesn't start out great for BDS, or even when they do not quite get the effect they want strategically. You have Likafak and Shaiko that suddenly just pull the trigger, suddenly the favor is back in their own hands, and they will work it from there. So that is something that Soniqs needs to be very aware of as they process through this game.
One of the things about BDS that sort of sets them apart from a lot of the counterparts currently inside EU is they just keep driving on the attack. They get a little bit chaotic, a little bit aggressive, and they keep that pressure hot. That was the response. Obviously, they lose Alems as that opener. They cannot get the refrag. He drops and hits the rotate. You're not going to be able to get that without probably throwing yourself into his firing line. But instead, they're still applying the pressure elsewhere. They're making sure that they don't suddenly succumb to a problem that BDS used to have, which is slowing down. They get the 2 kills, 2 different places in the map, and then keep that pressure going. This is what I mean by it's going to get scrappy. It's going to be a brawl between these two teams, because Soniqs are also very capable of that.
They are very capable of gunning back. I mean, we've all seen it happen. And that against the Renu BDS and Likafak as that extra, addition to BDS to really up that gun skill. Can only promise for a very explosive bank and border first down the line. One map too early, 2 maps actually. So BDS, they got that first, but they know there's more to be gained. Sure is putting up some pressure from the balcony outside. Nozer is going to be at least a player in either break room or CCTV. He's hoping to relocate them by sending some bullets down range, but Gunner is waiting patiently. He's not overstaying his welcome here. He's making sure that he stays safe, most importantly.
The pressure is sort of mounting all around him. He's gonna see if he can get a route out. The ping is there. He pulls himself back. You're getting Rexen rotating towards 90 as well, just to give themselves a little bit more strength in the fight in the wiggle room, but buried underneath the precious call of the E1D as they're gonna see if they can try and maybe get that buck right underneath the player. It's a hunt for the footsteps, checking the angles, and instead might even try and drift the stair set.
I think that's exactly what I want to do. Just push up the metal stairs, see if they might be able to find one off guard as the back of it. The grenades are coming in. Geo, just enough time to fall back. Gunner taking a lot of damage in the meantime as well. Has to rotate back through. Goes through 90. Knows, though, that the door might be watched. Will make it safely into the fountain with a lot of damage already done as Likafak starts opening up from below.
Shaiko, he's holding onto the angle. They're trying to force the player to have to leave. They've got one on the upside down rappel, and, well, Efac's going to rotate underneath the hatch and maybe try and open it up from his own accord. They want the player to try and go for a drop. They want to sort of force them into a tricky situation of make a choice. Well, there's the choice made. There's the reveal of the player. They drop down just in time, and Rexon is the one that gets a kill out of it. Bride gets caught out. Gio's just going to have to stay on the floor as low as possible with the support coming out, but it's Alems right down the back of the armory site. Sight line that leads all the way towards Africa. The swing gets taken out. Shaiko caught out. Gio is battling and fighting and crawling his way out of some safety. A cold kip with 50 seconds. They have time.
So some pressure coming down from that hatch just a little bit earlier, but the rotation had to come through. Leak effect now closed. There is going to be another kill to come through. Gio dies, but Gunnar instantly trades him out. A 3v2, and Shiro and LMs both low on HP. They need to make something happen. They need to find a kill somewhere and then see if they can lock off any rotations back towards the site.
This is the problem now. 30 seconds, and you can see, as I said, Soniqs, they're more than happy to play this consistently aggressive game. Respond, lean in, and go for these shots that, well, do things like that. Dropped across the bow. The hold of Grixer on the backside of the lockers, leaving just Renshiro in the 3 versus 1. Barely any time to get it together at this point. It's Soniqs to lock out. We're one apiece.
The office took a little bit too much pressure there for BDS to take fully under control. A bit too much man count loss, but that's okay. One apiece is still something acceptable for now. 4-2 is what BDS will be aiming to go for, though, here on Bank. Bank again, border. I keep on messing.
You are having trouble.
I'm ready to go for Bank, but it's not going to
You can't even have the excuse that we woke up early. Was it the excitement at meeting Bikini Bodhi?
He just joined me at my table. And
wow.
Like, hello, Hap. It's like, I specifically said I didn't want to meet you today. That's a joke. Just hello, I had a good chat. Either way, 1-1. And as we go through the castle now on the board here for Gio, it's going to be closing off that detention area. So wanting to make sure there's no, well, you know, sneaky buck just coming through, seeing if he can pick a player up freely. As I say that the repick comes in. Sledge in that matter. The Amaru's also on the board for Shaiko, so this might indicate a quick push to come through, but, you know, we are playing onto that ground floor, so only real way you want to be able to use that is to take some quick floor control. Maybe as soon as they want to go for a bit of a push onto the B side, Shaiko could be the distracting factor going from the sandwich window. As Sonic still preparing themselves onto that ground floor. The blitz as well on Bride. That is going to be the truly decisive factor here.
It's not the most common pick.
It's not the most
common pick in the pocket of Bride, but as Shaiko takes the quick zip, there's the fight and the call of the play. They might get the idea that something maybe fast is happening. The smokes, the drive, the drop of the default, and they're inside trying to stick the kit. The protection from the shield is offering enough. The blinds, but he saw the player. Grixer gets Bride, and Alems gets Kansan, though. The kit is cold. They could not get it locked down on the back end. Soniqs are just the response to slip past the window, but it's Renshiro that's able to finally find one more body. However, with the kit and Narnia and the call on it, everybody's sort of watching around, and they've got to see if they can try and find the long route through. Soniqs, they got a bit of a back line here. The missed kill from the Candelas across the top is probably going to be something that bothers the swing round, as it's had to lead to this, an entire second build-up.
I think that dealt an unnecessary amount of damage towards Shaiko. Now gets taken out by that spray from Gunnar. Puts us back to a 3-3 situation. But there's 2 players up on the top floor. Grixer is the only one that actually finds himself up in that ground floor. If they do manage to take him down in some way or another, there is an opportunity to actually pick up that kit, find yourself a bit of a safe haven to go for that plant, and hope for the best as you go. Liquefact, small amount of damage taken there, as he hoped to put some pressure down from Tellers.
Luckily for Liquefact, the MPX is a P shooter, so going through 2 levels of soft and just to spray at the body isn't going to do too much, but it's still an awareness, and it still puts a bit of fear on is how aware are they of my play? Was that just a bit of a Hail Mary shot that almost connected or not? The one problem that might lead you on the back end of this is after an attempt at a rush like that, you're really not left with much in pockets. They have none of their shot utility or thrown at this. They're just going to have to see if they can try and build it back on the end of gun skill, whereas at the same point, you still got what is most of a point held and put together by the side of Soniqs. Their actual lock-in wasn't too contested, but look at this. For congestion, Efac, he's dug himself inside. Alems is trying to draw some focus. The smoke cover on the far end, and Gunnar does find him in the core of the site. Can't get the second. Alems responds. They don't have that vertical control. They're being popped by the bulletproof, but the kit is theirs. He slips his way past. He slips his way right to the back end of a Valkyrie. Do they know he's there? Grixis seems uncontested out of this moment. They're trying to find that last loose player.
Verticality still there, the pings are coming through as well as the plans being attempted here by Lems. Ensure your pressure, your control needs to be up on point, which it is. He finds the kill, and now it's a 1-on-2 post plan. 45 seconds on the clock. A failed rush might actually lead to a bit of success.
Well, the first fight is a Lems's, so it has. They took their time and found some pace and found themselves the plant and the success at the end of the round. We've taken a photo with that Cyclops flag.
We have, yes.
They would have loved it.
If there's any team that will be into such kind of word jokes, it is definitely Cyclops and it's definitely Anaton.
Bathroom Tellus. So we'll go back to find ourselves with the second attempt here. It was the opening round for BDS, and it was BDS's opening round. Even though the kill went away from them at the beginning, they seemed to restructure themselves better on the build at the back of it. They found a little bit more of a connection in terms of just pushing, in terms of prodding. That was a different approach. If you go for a rush, you've kind of got to change to plan B, and plan B is the opposite end.
Yeah, that's playing very passively, like cutting down the angles one by one whilst hoping that the opposing team is going to be making some mistakes, which they did to some extent. Able to play onto the contact there, and Valkyrie not able to instantly swing on the back of the information coming from the camera. These kind of small things, they lead to kills just going away from you. And your opposing team being able to get themselves back into the round. Now, fun fact is that so far every single opening kill has been made by a Soniqs player. Yes, there has been trades here and there. BDS, they kind of have that habit of getting one behind. But still managing to win the game, the round is definitely showing their grit. But it also means that as soon as they do start getting the opening kills consistently, we might find ourselves in a bit of a troublesome situation for Soniqs.
As you said, a 4-2 is what they're trying to find. A 4-2 is what they're trying to look towards, and well, this is what they have to start building against that. They've got to make sure that they cement this, the one that they pulled off before. If they end up losing the same site twice in a row, okay. If they hit the tertiary, then that's a little bit of a nightmare.
It's definitely a nightmare. Shaka tried to, I believe, just bounce it off into the serial laser gate there, but failed, so that's a PC utility wasted. Actually doesn't have a grenade left. Don't think he wanted to just stand out in the open due to the fact that, of course, there is a player potentially playing behind the shield. So BDS, they've lost some early utility, but, you know, not an opening kill, and that means there is still a good opportunity for them to make sure they have the upper hand. This rotation made into the lobby. I'm not sure if that was an S charge. I can assume it might be from League Effect. As the drones are rolling through, the RC Retiros are coming in as well. They might be trying to find the player on the corner soon. The drone definitely gives that call out from Kansan, though.
There it is, the drop round, the rotate off. They're not trying to stretch themselves as deep, but it's a different take from BDS. Instead, the focus has been pretty much entirely onto Office. Now's the swing round from Likafak. He's going to see if he can try and, I guess, pull on the back of that. Maybe they hoped all of the focus had gone to Office and an Ash Strike on the back end could do some damage, but he's not quite fully confident, as it doesn't seem the rest of BDS is. They slip their way through into the big, vast seating area that always has the concern of being caught and watched from the opposite end. Without the verticality, it's a bit of a danger, but it's also this, the white swing that might come against them, and it does. EFAC suffers a bit, but he wins it out. Geometrics. He's gone, he's off the board. That's the fight with the castle over the top. Soniqs, they're going for a rebuild. Just gets the scrap onto one. Cannot get the connection on the second, but it's more than enough to at least slow this and allow Soniqs to build and drive themselves back into the site. It's a fight, and Rexon is going to take out the swing there. They've regained control of the Middle Eastern stairs.
Need to be more aggressive, and that's exactly what Soniqs is putting up right now. Likafak finds one, but not the second. Leaves it only up to him. And now it is that 3v1 situation. BDS finds themselves 2 men down. There is going to be sprays coming in from above, but also horizontally on the actual site. The fuser could be recovered, but again, it's going to be that crossfire coming through, finds the kill. And we keep it equal here. On border, 2-2. And now, again, BDS, they were looking for that 4-2 split. A 3-3 could still be acceptable, but that kind of raises the pressure upon them now.
It does. It sort of puts a little bit of a flag down here of Soniqs saying, we're keeping pace with you. And on the second half, we've got our attacks. And, well, on Border, pretty good with those, as is a lot of teams. It's that, you know, the double-edged sword, I suppose, of starting in the first game on your attacks on this map is you've got to warm up into the game. You have to do that anyway, but you also warm up into a series. Being the lead on an aggressive map as the aggressors, it can work against you. And Soniqs, they're working into it as well. It's obvious. You compare how much they were leaning in that round to the earlier ones, they are stepping back in. They're starting to piece the same game together, which is only going to help them when they get onto the second half of this showdown. Armory lockers. The old traditional. That's where we head up to next. And we saw a very late bulletproof remove before.
We saw Mew Jammer being placed onto the hatch in the sandwich area here. This is to stop anybody from opening it up from below. Of course, we saw that with the Buck earlier. You can also do that with Hibana or Ace from down below to make sure that the hatch opens up, you can put the pressure down. Using that Mew Jammer is going to be stopping that completely due to the way that the radius works, which will allow Geo to stay in a way safer position this time around, not having to worry as much for the player down below. Just really the grenades that are coming in from the top. So I like that little adaptation we're seeing.
Little changes.
That's kind of what you hope to see in these kind of semi-finals, right? It's like, okay, you play your defaults in the first, and after that, okay, this is how they countered it. How are we going to be dealing with this on our second time round?
The guns of BDS, they're generally falling pretty even with each other. It's just been a little bit sharper from the side of Soniqs. They've been able to have these crossfires that have worked into their favor. Once BDS find themselves back balanced, they need to try and put a bit of distance through. First pop of damage there over Geo. Doesn't quite get the confirmed kill, and they're going to pull back. The spray's over the top. Gunner's just tapping and swinging out. The long angle versus Renshiro, who doesn't entirely want to throw himself into this fight. So Shaiko steps up, takes Rex. 90 goes. That makes the position held inside CC much trickier now at this point because you don't really have a direct route through Renshiro. He's going to see if he can push that. The pings come across. There's the reveal of the player. He's hopped up. The Gon 6 goes close. In case there was a Banshee just tucked around, I assume. The angle goes against them. Geo's caught out inside office as well. 2 bodies gone. All the pressure onto CC. There goes Fountain as a Lems bites round on the back. Gunner is watching from range, though. Can he slip and slink away? He puts the fight onto Renshiro, who wins it out, just leaving Grixer tucked by the chairs, waiting for the first to come from 90. He knows the rest are not going to be far behind. There's the spray on the first fight. He's tucked behind a shield. They are circling. They are pre-firing. They are planting. There's 1. There's not 2. Back and forth.
Well done by BDS there, even though we did see the extra bit of security inside of the office, they still managed to take it under control. And suddenly when that fountain has been cut through, there's no way back in from CCTV either. So BDS really working into the, slight weaknesses that you have on such a setup, punishing it correctly, finding themselves a round up. But they want to be finding themselves 2 up. So this is a very important round coming up for them as we head back towards the workshop. Which was, by the way, a bit of a clutch situation after the field rush. We head back in round 3.
Soniqs, can you match the pace that you've been able to put down quickly so far? Quickly, talking of, doesn't seem to be the MO. Even though this was a 1 round by BDS last time, the rush was a failure.
Yeah.
Let's not mix that up, and as you can see, they're actually putting down softs. This is what you talked about with Soniqs before. They adapt, they overcome, they try to evolve as the game goes on. They take those little reads. There's a lot of intelligence built around those small minor adaptations of, well, if we put a soft here, that, I mean, sure, we stop the plant, but now it means that we would instantly be able to stop it before they even truly get the connection.
That's it, right? And that's what you want to see, that's what you like to see. So I'm enjoying the Soniqs gameplay so far as they are on the defense for 1 more round. Opening up some verticalities as well up above. This is all quite default, something you will basically do in your ranked games as well to stop anybody from the jump in and plant opportunity. And that forces the attacking team to take control of that top floor, at least the armory side of things, so they have the opportunity to go for a plant later down the line, because as soon or as long as the player is on that half wall, you're not going to be finding success, and they get back picked up as he wanted to open up with the skeleton key.
I mean, it was such a risk leading in. Sure, you got a shotgun in your pocket, but they're holding that small angle. It's open right up. You sort of have to be the first to start firing in that situation, at least just to shake up the aim and the angle of the other. The longer you leave it, regardless of whether you're going for that surprise strike or not, if they have that extra split second to ADS through the beams, you're in the trickier engagement. Rex and He's tucked inside Fountain. LMs wants to go for a swing, but that's being watched as well. Renshiro, he's tucked on close around break room. Whether they know he's in there or not, this is going to be the first engagement. The width, the width, the width, and nothing was rewarded from it.
He's in a good position, though, to find one as Shaiko just walks in. It's a double kill as he just flicks around and finds LMs. He was fully aware of where these attackers were coming from. And now it's only 2 players left on BDS. Breed and Renshiro in a 2v5. They will find it first as Raxon gets taken down.
At this point, they're just going to start to pull themselves away. They know there's still so much work left to do, and we saw it there. Gunnar, he's not going to risk the engagement. Tux is being chased. The rotate round to his right. I don't think they truly know. Doesn't matter. Grixa's there on the back end. This is that Soniqs gameplay we talked about. They swarm. They make sure that there's these multiple different angles and support structures in place. They sort of bait you into these engagements and say, ha ha ha, there was 2 of us.
That is how you're supposed to play. You're supposed to be playing either on contact or set up some crossfires to make sure that you get that trade game going for you. And even better, make sure you do not even lose anybody in those engagements. So, well done. That's why you would like to, you know, have them keep up. And I've talked about BDS before, and I think they made some minor mistakes over the games against Wolves yesterday. You're starting to see some of them still being around here, so I hope that they can change that up when they go over to the defense. Again, like Shaka just pushing in there. There was no real drone to lead him in. They were shot out earlier, so you could have expected someone to be out there. As small hole made into the passport check. He's going to be putting Bride under some pressure, but he's not really being pressured too hard yet. Time's about to be ticking down, and they know that on Soniqs.
They know where he is. There's 3 players I just saw swarming. They want to try and get that cemented on the end. He's going to pull out of his pistol and see if he can go down fighting, and he does go down. 3-3, an even half here on the start of Border. Soniqs, they keep the fire on. Can they make sure that carries over here onto their attacks?
That's it. BDS going over to the defense now. Luckily, Border, for Soniqs that is, luckily Border is slightly attack favored overall. Quickly pulling up the stats for these.
Give me them numbers.
Well, okay, so far over the major, 54% defensive win rate, so it is pretty much even here. But if you looked at the attacking win rate, I believe Fresh mentioned it before, 67% for both of them on this map. So that gives Soniqs a bit of an advantage here. Let's see if they can press it. Armory, top floor first. Unlike the bathroom hold we saw from Soniqs. Just quickly checking for the setup that they're doing, but there's nothing really that's out of the ordinary. Normal angles being set up, a bit of an extension towards CCTV, but also, you know, those long angles to be challenging the balconies.
10 seconds to go.
Okay, BDS. There's been some hesitant moments from the team so far, and this was sort of one of the conversations that I praised them earlier on in this game. You got to make sure that it stays up on a map like this. It's probably one of the most aggressive defenses you can take. And we've seen, I guess, Soniqs play defense on attack in some of their qualifying games on Theme Park. Very different setup, but very funny.
Soniqs now taking it slowly, do not need to get in quickly. Make sure they use their drones well. 9 still left on the board, and that is, of course, due to the fact that Twitch doesn't carry a second usual drone. So 9 means that every single drone is still up. So the 2 extra coming through. Gemini Replicator taken out, so not really getting the information Rexon wanted, but at least that there is someone downstairs able to put pressure down upon them on the main door.
Yeah, very little was received there from that, and well, BDS can sort of sit and wait and bait the approach here of Soniqs. They've got themselves the width over East Stairs. The heftily electrified wall is something that might be dealt with by either a grenade potentially popped over the top or a Twitch drone that gets itself as a little bit of a drive. The fact that the ban in that position probably means that, well, if they're paying attention, they should at least... Oh no, it drops out too quickly. The Bandit, he loses his middle wall and he's not entirely sure where.
He's just picking it up now as well, or at least being ready to. EMP coming through, now he has to go for a bit of a guess where the breach comes through. I think he guessed wrong. Yes, he did. It was going to be the close wall, so the opening is definitely going to be there, and that gives Soniqs a bit of an opportunity to put some pressure down.
One of the things now as well is obviously those have all been removed. He doesn't want, or doesn't have one for his close contact wall to his left-hand side, so if that gets a Salma on it, he's got to drop, as does EFAC. Grixa they're sort of making sure they got a presence underneath as well and saying there's no way out. If you go down, we will be there waiting for you. So Shaiko, he's got to go a little bit aggressive here onto 90, try and reclaim some of this territory, offer some support to a structure that is otherwise being pulled apart and pressured to spray against it. The player on CC window to his right-hand side is circling as you see the slow creep on the far end. Alems, he's going to step up and see if he can try and get an aggressive swing round. The pre-fire fight does not quite connect in the way that he wants. The drones roll on through, 45 seconds, and Gunnar finds the second on the back line.
Still a player on the half wall though, so if Gunnar is not checking his corners properly, he might find himself picked up by the next as he goes for the frost. That's Renshiro taken down, and that certainly opens up the side almost completely before BDS strikes back.
They at least get one, but Bride is massively injured in the engagement, and 30 seconds, you know they're about to scream through onto site. There goes Alems. Gunnar with a triple right on the back line, and Bride, he cannot even get a whiff of a bullet, but he suffers the end of it. Soniqs, for the first time for any of these teams, tie 2 rounds in a row.
With that, they take that lead as well, making sure that they have the opportunity now to, well, break away from BDS. I mean, their border has looked quite strong so far. Some trash talk coming in from the crowd. So, but the border of Soniqs has looked quite strong so far. And if you look at the entry kill statistic, 5 went to them, only 2 to BDS. It really shows that Soniqs is definitely sharper at the start of the game. Except that BDS has been able to bring it back every now and then because of the big fragging potential they have on their team.
BDS, not to put a little thing in the water.
But you were about to.
There's talk of a curse.
Yes, I know. I've heard of said curse.
There's talk of an EU curse that when BDS makes it, EU doesn't.
Yeah, when BDS makes it to a major, EU loses it. Yeah, I think we'd like to see them prove us wrong here.
They're the only ones that can prove us wrong at this point.
Yeah, because they knocked out the other European team.
They did.
So it's like, you know, a bit of a French rivalry going on there. BDS getting the upper hand out of that one, and that means that everything, all the hopes and dreams for a back-to-back major win is now going to be upon them. And as we set ourselves up slightly above the actual site of Workshop, we need to see a bit of that aggression coming out from... Ooh, he's going to go for it. No, he's not. Okay, Gunnar deciding to not go just yet.
Yeah, he was looking for the angle, but you have to be closer here. They're going to go for a bit of a 3-2-1 breach and break. You're obviously looking at some of the attention that can be paid. The Candelas are probably going to pop off and draw as much attention as possible. Grixer is doing just that, I think. Going for the drive on the back end and then rotating their way around. There's the single player on the connecting half wall. There's the pressure coming underneath. They've got to take the top with a bit of aggression here. Will they be aware? Will they be prepared?
They want to go for the jump in on that window, I believe, but also combine it together with the aggression all over the map so they can get a quick plan down. But BDS is a bit too spread around. It makes it a bit too difficult to go for it either way. Gunnar is in, and all he needs to do now is find these kills up on the top floor, but instantly taking that Malikafak.
Yeah, he was ready for that, and he was able to get the quick strike. They didn't quite have enough of the coverage. That C4, it went close to the wall, hoping a player was tucked, and all it's done is open up a little bit more of an angle here. Karenzen's getting some support, but they can hold on for now. You can see Geo is going to come up as well onto the sandwich window. You've got Rexon on the far end. They know that they've got to try and cement the kill, and Rexon gets one, leaving just a single player tucked right in the corner. The flashbang is going to do some blind. Kanzen just needs to hold the angle. It's pressure from multiple different sides. Renshiro, he's doing his best to survive, but it's not easy. An air jab as well. That was a bit of a murder. They're able to pull back the body balance. Alems is tempted with a bit of a strike back. He's hoping he goes uncontested, but for now, Soniqs, they've got eyes on the site.
They have eyes on the side, but they do not have it under control yet. I believe they're getting in position, though, to get that plant ongoing, to put 45 on the board. The drones are rolling through. They need to figure out where exactly these players are going to be. They're also droning out that top floor to make sure there's no more flankers on the board. So I believe we just saw Shaiko just pass through there. The other side, hoping to bring that aggression back towards Soniqs. Hope to find an opening kill. Here's a bit of noise there. It's going to be LM's now going a bit aggressive, gave away his position, but he's still going to be able to pick up the kill. Now goes for that drop, of course, playing on the Oryx, has the opportunity to just hop up wherever he wants.
He took a gamble there, and you could see that they weren't quite sure where those bullets came through. There's still a bit of a missed throw, but a heavy hold there onto the site itself. They've been watching that window for forever. Now they've got to see if they can try and watch the plant as they jump in. They go for the spray round, tucked on the corner. It's the first engagement for Shaiko, but he loses a lot. There's Shaiko with one more. Geo, he's pre-firing the angle. There's a flicker of health, but a flicker of time just as much. The 2 versus 1 here. The pop of the Keratos. Oh! It's a knife!
Pretty sure the crowd loves that if the cheeky knife kill comes in from the end. It's not quite free yet, but we're...
I don't want to put like a worry there for the NA equals free sign. We're 8 rounds in.
We're 8 rounds in and it's 4-4, so we're definitely not there yet. It's still pretty back and forth.
Twitter doesn't need more fuel.
We definitely don't need it.
Maybe it does.
Actually, we might just want to put more fuel on the fire. It's always fun, right? So, pose up, NA against the EU. That's exactly what we're doing here. There's not many NA fans out here in the crowd, surprisingly. I thought they'd be coming over to support their teams, but you know. Joking. 4-4, and we're headed towards bathroom. Tellers, it is going to be the complete rotation out from BDS, even though the armory was lost before. Top floor, of course, going to be important. You see the hatch open up, so that means that, you know, the defenders are going to be playing the office quite heavily. They do not want to be abandoning this hatch over towards Soniqs whenever they come knocking. And as we see a wide extension coming through, many walls are being closed up here. Castle coming out as well to limit the angles even more so for the attackers if they come through. Luckily, though, they have Kansan on that sledge, so, you know, shouldn't be too much of an issue playing against the Castle.
BDS, you were on the front foot based solely on the round trades, but now you got to make sure that you can do what seemed almost impossible in the first half and tie 2 together. You can see Soniqs, they set themselves up. They hold angles for an exceptionally long time. It kind of punished them in the previous round. They were hoping that, I guess, a BDS player might get a little bit too, maybe nervous, maybe overconfident, either way punished on the swing, but it wasn't really handed to them. They were more than happy to sort of sit in the 2 versus 4 situation and try and bite and fight their way back. Grixer, he's putting the pressure down towards the big vast seating area with Geo on the 2nd story, and Gunnar instantly in towards 90. They know either side's electrified, but that gives them this, a route through. The beepers will give some of the audio. Whether it gets picked up or not will be the response. You can see Ranchiro's got the shield, but he's got an angle, the hot drone around his feet. Will they have an awareness? Are they swinging for it? There it is, though. Soniqs, they're able to just get the cement, but the fire comes. Shaiko gets the trade. Shaiko gets the 2nd, and he's just going to get out of there. He knows that they are swarming.
Ranchero staying alive way longer than he should have there and allowing Shaiko to come in for that support, pick up 2 and make sure that they are still going to be in the lead of this round. The top floor though has been abandoned. Soniqs will have that under control. They can use that however they wish. Most likely we'll start from the hatch, try and get some view down into that bathroom. This Grixer is still wanting to look around right here, use his drone to take out some utilities, but also feed the information. This BDS that all they need to do is just waste a lot more time. 70 seconds left on that clock, but they have that extra man advantage.
What can you do now, Soniqs? You're on the back foot in terms of the body count. It's not a situation, to be honest, we've seen you in too often. So, now's that test of all that rotations, the ability to adapt as a round goes on. We talked about being a strong suit. The ping's on the first player. Grixer wants to go for the swing fight and takes it very easily. LM's caught out, did not know he was on that yellow ping, and that brings us back to an even balance. They drop inside the site. They're trying to get the kit tucked around onto a corner, and Gio's going to see if he can find the plant. Kansan's watching the rotate. I don't think BDS know. They got to try and make a move now and put the pressure on. It's a post-plant situation. Grixer takes the head off of Bride. Shaiko's trying to fight his way in, finds his 3rd. There's a retake attempt over on the top floor. Shaiko's going to see if he can lock out the middle. This is going to be a very loud swing, and that was easy to pick up. Based on that old-fashioned siege timing, Shaiko, he's going to move back into the space. There's one. He's not on for the ace! Oh, I thought he was caught out there for a second. He's going to bite back. You're looking at 20 seconds. He's got to see if he can find the fight, and then the kid itself. They've got the vertical. He does not have much time. Pre-fires the angle, 11 seconds, the hop through, they're on the hatch, he's looking for the fight, he is out of time, and he almost pulled it out.
One more bullet and he would have had that ace and a clutch right afterwards, but Soniqs, they continue making sure that there is no 2 in a row coming out from BDS. Leading by that 1 round, and now 1 round away from reaching map point, which is what they're aiming for. Just to get that first one underneath their belts. Up the pressure even more so on BDS. And now a site that we haven't seen quite often. It's Customs. And it's not completely unplayed. It definitely does get played. But it is by far the site that gets played the least. And from quickly checking so far, it has been played during the major a total of 2 times. So this is the 3rd. And with this, the top floor, CCTV and break, they will be quite important because that is the direct verticality towards the site out here. It is up to BDS to decide whether or not they want to take that under control or if they're going to be more horizontally based. Now what you see is the opening that has been made in the armory walls there to at least put a bit of pressure down upon the balcony if they are indeed trying to, you know, jump through the window from CCTV, for example. But with the hatch open up, I cannot think, but, you know, BDS having to have someone up on that top floor.
BDS, they need that bit of energy now. They're going to see if they can try and find a response. I guess one of the moments that's sort of struggled for them so far is EFAC not quite getting the same connection with this game so far that he's been able to make throughout this whole series. Rexon almost got the deep dive drive all the way through to the back end. They want to try and pop the back end of this wall, and they're just waiting for the support structure we've complimented Soniqs on so often. The spray over the top, there's nobody to bait it as of this moment in time, and there won't be yet.
There's another impact available. He's going to go for it, but it's the upside down repel from Rexon that will shut him down. And I believe that the wall has been opened up, so that's just basically, you know, hitting 2 birds with 1 stone, trying to open up. You get the breach, you get the kill, and that's going to be a massive advantage for Soniqs very early on here. BDS again with a man down now, needing to hold on. And yes, of course, they do have a bit of verticality out here, but it's not going to be massive. You need to make sure you're hitting your shots if you're playing up on that top floor, and at the same time, pressure will be coming back down upon you.
It's turning into a little bit of a risky situation here. You saw, obviously, BDS get an aggressive swing around and get called out from just the upside-down rappel in that situation. It was well-watched, well-driven, and well-forced here, and I guess that's one of the big problems BDS are having. They're not quite expecting so much of Soniqs to be behind these singular moments, and then this. You have a big rotate, multiple players try to find themselves a new angle and a new point of breach. They're really structuring themselves heavily with the idea of the trade game, with the idea of Border offering itself a lot of this quick-paced potential aggression. Kansan has the route through and is going to offer it, but Gunnar finds a Lems in the meantime on the far end, and EFAC, he's sort of watching, waiting for something to happen, but nobody is interested.
Not yet. No one really wanting to take the balcony. Shaika playing close to the window. I believe he might have just been spotted out. There's a grenade instantly coming through. We'll pick him up. Leak Effect now has to go for a bit of a drop. It's quite risky. Rude gets injured by the player from the ventilation, and now he's on a 1v5 hunt. He's waiting patiently here, not pulling the trigger. He needs to make sure that he's going to be able to find more than one. Finds one, jumps through, hopes to stop this diffuser before it goes down, but the pressure is too huge. And it's Soniqs that get a 2nd round in a row for the 2nd time now, and find themselves up onto map point.
BDS is struggling at this point, even though it was obviously where they wanted to go and it was their technical 2nd preference map. At this point, the slow start is something that has harped their plans, and we will have attack time out. We will have the conversation here. 2 rounds separate BDS from being able to drive this into OT. One, and Soniqs potentially driving themselves to their map choice with a chance at moving past. You and I actually cast the last major where there was the EU versus NA showdown. NA lost that one. Is this revenge?
This could be revenge, and again, it would be at the European home ground. So, you know, for our 6, or for the fans, you know, for the European fans, I hope not, but it is good to see Soniqs with such big of a rebuild, because they did have quite a bit of a rebuild coming in there, to actually show up as strong as they have over the course of this major. They had a poor start to the group stages, and now they're one of the favorites to be able to win it. So All we can do is commend that roster and commend the behind-the-scenes staff that put this all together and made sure that they are here as prepared as they are. Coming up against the French powerhouse, who again failed to bend the knee to Wolves.
That was it. In taking down Wolves, they took that final bit of the torch, and now it's their job to see if they can run it to the end. The stress of knowing that their whole region is watching at home.
I don't know if you feel that really, right? I mean, yes, you know, you're the only NA team left, but I think they'll be more worried about, semis that we're going through, we're trying to make it here.
I think there's a lot of NA versus EU beef.
There's also a lot of
I think there is a lot of these two regions are dedicated to trying to one-up each other. Not even in just the game.
Just in everything.
BDS. Was the conversation something that you think you found the answer towards these very well put together approaches? The intel has been pretty sharp from Soniqs, it's worth noting. They've seemed to have a lot of kills on the back of yellow pings and drone positions that BDS have just been unaware of. And you can see as they start trying to bait their way through, there's Gunnar holding an exceptionally long angle, but Shaiko's holding it just as well.
That's just, getting Shaiko. There's nothing more than that. He just swings by, gets the kill. Not even an opportunity for Gunnar to go for a response, who had, by the way, an incredible game. But that's the Dokkaebi gone now. No phone calls coming through, no hacking of the cameras to try and use the utility against the defenders themselves. Shaiko's still going to be a problem around the CCTV area. They will have to deal with him at some point, potentially sooner rather than later as well.
I mean, this is the situation you're looking at. Gunnar and Grixer, between the pair of them, having about 24 to 10 has been such a big factor on this map. Repeatedly finding these engagements, finding themselves, putting the pressure onto the guns of BDS that just have not connected in the same way. Sure, they're even, but when people are putting in a performance like that, you got to be bigger than even. Kansan, he's trying to find revenge to the fight as Gio's going to see if he can stick the plant. Are they going to try and stop it? There's no response. The C4 does not quite get the catch. Oh, it does! Just the wing of Gio gets clipped. They go down. Alem's on the back end, and it's a 5 versus 1. Rexon, he had his feet up in the break room, but now he's got to put down the T and see if he can try and find all the remaining players. He looks for the first, cannot get the connection. The second is his. And BDS aren't done quite yet, are flawless.
They probably know, but they, it was so close before that plant going down, and that C4 just dropping through the railing just in range to find the injured.
That was just in range.
And I'm just saying, throwing a C4 like that, or rather dropping it, is such an awkward thing to do because so often it just gets stuck up on the railing right there. Hello. I'll say hello back. Remember you.
Hello.
He asked me, do you still remember me? And it's like, yes, because it's like the hat, we've seen it in Berlin.
The guy that wears the cowboy hat.
Yeah, it's not hard to miss. Not easy to forget. But we're heading back towards the bathroom and tellers area. BDS just a single round away of making it even and forcing us to go to overtime. And of course, they want to make sure they pick up this first map. And again, due to the fact that it's playoffs, it doesn't matter if you go overtime. As long as you get that map win in the end, that's all that counts. And if we do go to overtime, this is only going to be proving how even these two teams are.
I mean,
how creative
after
this might become.
Yesterday, how we had a lot of 2-0s,
yeah.
You won a full stretch of games. We all want to see 6 maps today, I think. We all want to see as much siege as possible. We want to see the best of the best really push each other to the brink, because otherwise you're sort of like, could they have done something else? What else could they have done? If you hit 3 maps, 3 OTs,
let's just have a 90 rounds. Let's just
you feel satisfied from our end. You probably feel exhausted from theirs, but anyway, that's the joy of being in our position. The struggle now is who will take it. Soniqs with the map, or BDS with the pressure of OT. They start to go for the break. Obviously, there's the swing and the chance. BDS might lead in on the second half of this. I'm not sure what they would have picked for OT.
No clue yet either, but I expect it would have gone for the defense in that matter. It usually is the opposing thing of what you have at the moment. By the way, Breach coming through, they're wanting to put up some pressure onto 90, but Liquefact just rolls in. They know they need to go aggressive, and they're doing exactly just that.
That's it. That's the lessons learned on the back of the TAC timeout here. They've really started to step themselves into the faces of Soniqs. We've seen Soniqs from a man disadvantage pull around back before, and they obviously still have their TAC timeout. They'll either not be using it at all after this round, or they'll probably be using it immediately after as we get into OT. But either way, it's turned into this, a bit of a drive and a back and forth. Another swing round, but Kansan is the one that gets the connection this time around. Renshiro could not quite find it. They lose the body, but the rotates just come up from Oryx. He's found himself back into Armory. He's just gone up for a bit of an adventure. Now he's gone back down. Lems, he was tempted by the hatch for a second, but instead we find a second of silence.
Might have wanted to help Renshiro there, and as soon as he went down, it's like, I don't really want to give them another 1v1 fight in that matter and, you know, potentially lose it out, give that man advantage back towards Soniqs. So they pull back and they hold. A minute left on that clock. And all that BDS have to do is to make sure they do not take the bathroom under control. That was the issue the previous time. Now Shaiko is looking to play aggressively out here. The sledge is opening up, but he's just playing below that hatch. He's like, come and drop us. I'm not going to be caring too much about it, but Kansan takes him down.
Shaiko, the man who almost claimed this round back, but it was on the back of a 4K that was just not quite an ace, and he is the next to find himself sitting out and watching on such an important play. Bride LMs, Liquefact need all the energy of the EU audience, and Soniqs need to just try and make this land. 30 seconds. They go for the drop, the kit. It's so close towards the hatch, the last roll. They know where Bride's tucked. He's wondering whether he goes for the swing. The pre-fire doesn't quite get a body, but we hear the flashes go, and there's the swing. There's Bride. Opens the lock, but Kansan gets one back. The kit should get planted. The break over the top. Kansan gets a Lems. With a quad kill, he is on par for the ace, and that vertical control has once again come back to haunt BDS on this map. The fight is scrappy, it's not quite fully connected. The castle makes a lot of noise. Kansan, he's going for the ace, and there it is! Kansan with the ace, Soniqs with the first map, and the one-up heading into the second.
What a way to lock it out there for Soniqs, the ace to come through. And again, the same issue haunting BDS, the top floor. They're not able to hold on to it. That's exactly what Soniqs punished. They pulled up the pressure of the shotgun, they find that kill, the bathroom is clear, and instantly, they drop instantly. They pull that trigger, and instantly, they find success.
I mean, the guns there were popping off, and now they've got a break and a team talk, but so do we. We're going to a quick break before we're back with the desk.
I'm Nicholas Morton, but you know me as Pingu. I'm a two-time Rainbow Six Siege World Champion and former top Rainbow Six Siege player in Pro League. Welcome to my Siege Ranked Bootcamp. We're talking 20 seconds left on the clock, you got the diffuser in hand, what do you do? Play the way that you're comfortable with, because you have confidence when you're in this position, that is when you're gonna be at your very best. Good luck.
And welcome back, friends, to the analyst desk. The Soniqs taking map number 1, and that was a close one. I gotta say, I thought this was gonna go to OT, but hey, that's something for BDS, or on the BDS, to consider for map number 2. They will need to win that to take it to a 3rd, and Soniqs on top for now. Hello, I'm Miloš Tomitic, your host. With me are Alfama and Fresh, and we're gonna break things down for map number 1. Are you surprised or not, Alfama?
I am surprised. It was BDS map pick and high preference for Soniqs too, but it's still BDS map pick, so you don't expect it to go on Soniqs' way. The thing is, it was 7-5, could have gone either way. The number of 2v2s, 3v3s that were won on each side, it literally, like, apart from some really important, impactful kills, the rounds could have gone either way.
And we have to be fair about this, is like, this was 2 very high quality teams playing head-to-head on border, and I thought the one differentiating factor, just the one, because it came down to a 7-5, was the fact that Soniqs took a very brave call. They've taken a few brave calls, they did it in the map ban, but they also did it here, where they started defense first, because they got the choice. Now, getting that 3-3 on the defense first put them in the ascendancy, because they were 3-3 going into the attack where you should be getting, in my opinion, a 4-2.
Exactly.
And they made some very big plays to get there. You know, Gio was dancing around in office, you know, wasting time on one of the armory defenses. They had a couple of big plays come off from their big players, from Grixer, from Kansan, and then that was ultimately the difference, because it was a very, very close game.
Yeah, I think Grixer was instrumental, especially in playing his role, lurking in the basement on border, cutting so many rotations up the stairs, down the stairs, in archives, in workshop. All the time he was everywhere and punishing any movement.
Oh, some things to reconsider, though, here for BDS. What do you think were some of the things that they weren't able to close out on? Because, like you're saying, it's a close game. There's only a couple things here and there that kind of lose you games so close.
There was a couple of issues on the attack where Soniqs were playing a little bit more plan-focused. They were playing a little bit more their strategy. Whereas BDS, they had to, when they were attacking, they had to see what Soniqs were doing on the defense first, lose to it, then adapt in the next round to win it. So they lost an armory, they lost the tellers, for example, where it was kind of just reliant on them making those adaptations after they'd already seen the defense. And like I say, that was the one thing. 3-3 on the defense for Soniqs was massive for them.
Yeah, the only attacking rounds where I felt like they were super, super good was when they had a clear plan straight at the beginning and just started working on it straight off.
I thought BDS actually, Soniqs were actually excellent on their attacks though, because they stuck to their identity. They stuck to Gio getting a lot of those plants down, how they could work the plants, not how they could work the kills and map control. We don't need a load of map controls. How can we get these plants going off? You saw time and time again, there was plants going down where BDS just didn't know about it.
Let's take a look at our map summary here. They'll give us a wide, I guess, macro point of view on all the players that are in this series and who performed really well. Chaiko, of course, stood out. Likefak, who were expecting, but there was something lacking. Now, Gio didn't have the best of games, but this is not his job to be the one to get the kills, or am I missing something here?
No, it's not even his job to get the kills, and, you know, we'll come on to this, but like I've said, I've mentioned it a couple of times, there was one round he won by staying alive for 1 minute 30 in office on the armory bomb site on the defense, where, yeah, he's not going to get any stats for that. He's gone 1-9, but he stayed alive, and that was the win condition for his team, was the time wasting. So, yeah, and, you know, when you've got a front three, when you've got Kansan, Grixen, Rexen, and Gunner's popped off as well, when you've got those players, Gio can go 1-9 all he likes. He's going to win.
Exactly. It's more than just KD. You need that cohesion between one another. Though, on from our match summary, and yes, Soniqs are victorious in map 1, 7-5, a close series. We have Alfama on the telestration, his debut, as we like to say here on the stage. So, Alfama, what do you want to talk to us about?
Thank you very much, Miloš. I wanted to talk about how BDS is able to clear the office side. It's an office clear on the top floor bomb side, and they struggled to do it at the beginning, and I want to see how exactly they were able to do it and achieve a round victory, especially here. So look, you've got Chaiko in his stairs. He removes this player in 90. Shield is gone, that player is gone. Now, the real difference maker compared to the first attacking round was really removing Gio playing in office. The last time they tried to attack it, he was able to waste so much time. So let's take a look at how they're gonna do it. So first they drone, they know that the guy is here. Okay, that's interesting. Now how do you remove him? Lion charge, and then this is where it gets interesting. You've got here Sledge opening an angle on him. You've got Chaiko still holding the long, right? So that guy can't escape. And then you've got Likefak going in. The only thing this guy can do right now is die or try to win his gunfight. And this guy could maybe try to revenge him, but that's it. Let's see how it plays out. Likefak gets in, removes Gio. Now at that point, maybe that guy can try to take a revenge. It's a bit too late, right? No timing, he dies. 5v2, you've got his stairs control, you've got office control. The rest of the round is done. You can only collapse 5v2 and play the bomb side.
Thank you very much, Alfama. Look at him on his debut on the stage. For everybody here joining us in Jönköping, can we just get a quick clap for Alfama on his first time? It's pretty impressive, isn't it? It's good to hear from a professional player, an ex-professional player, talk to us about all the things that go in his mind, and you can see the tactics play out in the game. Now, our next map is Clubhouse. We called it a very ballsy pick from Soniqs to go up against BDS. And I just want to remind everybody of the MVP of map number 1, just in case you missed it. Have a pop, and I wonder who it's going to be. It was Gunnar. There he is. And we're talking about, hey, we want to smoke Shaiko. So far, it's not doing too bad.
And I want to give a shout out to him as well, because he took a leap of faith when he moved from Parabellum to this roster. He took a leap of faith that he wasn't going to be the main guy, that he had to slot into the system and do a job first and foremost. If you look at his NAL stats, he didn't have a great NAL stage, but that's going to come with the time and the experience. And he started to show his worth in this tournament alongside the front three of the Soniqs.
Absolutely. And for the people to reminder, like, it's his only second stage on professional level, right? And it's his first international stage. I was speaking to Kenzen last time, and he was telling me, you know, Gunnar still isn't fully integrated to the core. It's normal. And yet he delivers performance like this. This is amazing for his confidence.
All right. Final thoughts, though, on Clubhouse. Are we seeing a map 3 or not?
I would expect so. Like, in fairness to BDS, their unbeaten streak on Clubhouse. Their unbeaten streak on Clubhouse lasted like 500 odd days if we exclude when they had to play with BIOS. That got beaten by W7M just in group stages. However, they are one of the most formidable Clubhouse teams in the world. They're not going to be upset, even if they've lost border, but they're going to a map that's literally their favorite map. Can I see a map 3? Yes.
Yeah, I think if you look at VDS right now, they've had the best possible Clubhouse masterclass from yesterday during Soniqs versus TSM. So they've had plenty of time to analyze that and maybe come up with counter-strats in attack.
All right, a lot up in the air. Is this the right choice for Soniqs, or will BDS be able to take it to a map 3? We're going to find out with our casters right after the break.
So to design Solis' device, we were looking for something that needed 2 hands to be operated and something that wasn't going to take too much of the vision space. So we thought about augmented reality. We were very excited with all the modern visual that it could add to the game. Solis' kit is made of 3 main parts: the helmet, the bracelet, and the gloves. So when the helmet turns on, the screen switches from transparent to glowy yellow, and the HUD elements start to show for the user. The second part is the bracelet. It's used as a placement tag for the AR interface. And this AR interface is shaped as a 3D ring. It's used by Solis to interact with the gadget. The last part is the scan, and the scan is the middle part of this AR interface. And when the scan is performed, you have this pulse of 3D lines that starts and fades in the distance, giving the position of every electronic device on its way.
Usually with loadouts, we try to give flexibility for players. We give the P90 as a primary because it's a super good SMG, super interesting, and another SMG as a sidearm because it's also a really good weapon. But we're also giving Solis a shotgun because being able to create, rotate, and help on site and help reshape the map is also very, very interesting for an operator like this. And with the sidearm, again, that is SMG, it allows you to bring the shotgun and still have an SMG at hand if you really need to defend yourself.
So this is actually one of the first maps we've done that actually incorporates the lore. It's Night Haven, it's a research facility. So the basement only has 1 bomb site. It's optimized for navigation and flow. And we went for a more optimized design, so it's quite compact in its shape, but there's a lot of entryways from the exterior helipad, and there's lots of ingress and egress that you can actually do to the sites. There's a little Easter egg down there, hiding away, not so subtly. So first floor has 2 bomb sites. It's very clean, there's a cafeteria, there's lots of small rooms, big rooms, there's a warehouse there with some exterior walls. The warehouse is super interesting when you get close to it because it's an open area with a catwalk above it. On one of the roofs, there's a risk versus reward run out to reinforce a hatch. Otherwise, it opens up some pretty interesting lines of sight, but you need to, wait for the prep phase to finish, get out, and so break the barrier, get out and go do it. The map should be going into all of the playlists that we normally release upon. It's not the same as any other map. There's unique things in this one, and the map looks superb. The artists, the lighters, everyone did such a great job on this map. I'm looking forward to the reception.
Tell me if it's funny, disappear, honey. When will you give me or call me? 'Cause I have for you a crazy prize. Oh, you have something in your eyes of power. And I can't deny I love it. There are no limits for us, so we can't understand now. When I think about it, I make it feel so high. I make it feel so high. Make it feel so high, you never know why. Feel so high, make it feel so high, you never know why. Feel so high, make it feel so high, you never know why. Once again.
Hello everyone and welcome back here to map 2 of our first semi-finals. Soniqs, they have taken BDS's border, but will the French bite back on Club?
Now, there seems to be a bit of an unbeaten streak on Clubhouse for BDS, but they've just lost their first ever map to Soniqs, so who knows, that might end here as well, as we are getting ready to go. And I'm excited to see what Club will bring. What are we going to be seeing? Are we going to see any counterbands to come out from the operator band phase, for example?
I don't know if the audience isn't going, whoop, there we go.
It's the Monty that's already gone, by the way, so we've missed that, but...
Monty's gone.
That does make sense.
There it is. Bannock. I still don't know if people at home can hear that. Because we're quite far away, actually. The casters are hidden. We are. They can hear, good. Because we're like hiding behind the stage this time.
Can't start any NA airport chants now.
I mean, at this point, I don't think you want to. I think this EU fan base, if they want to hear a little bit more of a success of map 3, they need to give some energy for BDS here. They need to try and bring it. Otherwise NA is going to church in Arsenal is where we will start this foray. And, well, BDS, what can you do on Soniqs' map that is statistically your favorite?
That's why I expect a bit to come down from BDS, right? That's why I expect them to kind of hit the ground running and make sure that they're able to show that, the last map they played, Border, well, that might have just went away from them, but they are definitely here to show and definitely here to pick up a map and push us to 3, which would be Bank. I've mentioned it many, many times before already today, just one context, as the decider. But again, first we will have Club coming up next. And we're up in the bottom floor, and the hatches are being reinforced, so that is all, well, basically, basic stuff for Clubhouse. Nothing really that is out of the ordinary that we're seeing.
You're blowing minds right now.
I'm not blowing any minds.
You're really just blowing minds.
I'm just saying that this all looks very, very basic. It's not rocket science, as some would say.
It's not built around being rocket science, it's built around being Clubhouse. Now, everybody really knows what the drive here is on the maps, on the sites, and this is a tool hold here from BDS. They have the stretch over the rafters. One of the things that Soniqs were very, very good at on the previous map was pinching and pulling apart faraway players. Okay, Border, it plays differently to Club. It's very aggressive and very short and sharp. But here, the way Soniqs circle around people, the way they sort of get these yellow pings and then build behind it. I mean, look at that. Instantly, Alems is suffering spray from a different angle. Efak, he's got himself tucked around onto a corner onto Jim. There's pressure coming from Logistics. Soniqs don't waste time.
They're definitely not wasting any time right now, but they also know they need to be quick, specifically on this site. It feels like that they're aware of the fact that there might be 2 players around the gym area. The breach will be coming through. They need to be careful again that there's no high aggression coming out from any of the BDS players, which there was, and Gio will be shutting down Nikafak, but Alem's still around.
Yeah, Lems, I mean, he doesn't want to stray too far from the hatch. The drones are coming around from 2 different angles. He's going to get out of there before it becomes a fight. There's nobody watching the route through. Ranchiro's offering some support, and, well, they actually swing into the fight down the long corridor, but otherwise, peeled away, pulled back, and with a minute 20 wasted, they've also lost a player. There is the Trackle that's trying to make its way. Alems is being revealed. We don't see it, but we definitely hear it, and he knows it, so he throws himself back down. He's going to maybe bait some of the reveal on that as Soniqs go for a steady clear now of the top 2 floors.
Still though, no real pressure coming down onto the direct middle floor towards the hatches. Yes, Rexon is around there, he's setting himself up with claymores and having the Jacko Inox scanner to make sure no one's out there. But they need to make sure they start opening this up quickly. And as the first set of Exkyros is being used, it's only going to be 2, just in case there will be some impact tricking going on. Not the case at the first few sets. The next 2 go on also doesn't seem to be tricked out. So Nitrocel's being tossed in. Alem's aware of the fact that a drone was chasing him.
Yeah, the drone was the reveal. He gets sprayed through, though. I'm not entirely sure what the direct angle was. Maybe it was just over the hatch here. He's going to move into it. The yellow pings are continual. And that drone game, it's still so good. From Soniqs, it has absolutely been terrorizing BDS on this showdown so far, and it has no habit of stopping. Shaiko, he tries to step into a fight. There's another drone rolling past. They have 8 able to be used. Shaiko does take the top off, and the head of Rexon gets removed. They're all stacked around. It's 20 seconds, and the drop is coming into the pit. There's a cold kit. Shaiko gets Gio in the drop and the motion. Gunner, he's got it back up, but with that in his foot, he cannot plant immediately. The impact should have the impact. Half for Gunner's health. The rest is Shaiko and Brede. And now the final player is found. And it might have looked like BDS were on the back foot, but they had the last laugh.
Well, they were definitely on the back foot, but they managed to bring it back like they've done so many times before. But again, it's not something you can continue relying upon. So they need to make sure that their early game is going to be that little bit stronger, just so you find that first kill, or at least trade it out from the get-go. Either way, the round is theirs. That's what matters in the end. Now Gym Bedroom up next. What we will most likely see is teams try and avoid CCTV as much as they possibly can, due to that really being the fundamentals of Siege. And if you've made it, if you made it to the semi-finals right now, which, clearly both these teams have.
Have they?
Yes, it happens to be that they are in the semi-finals right now. But they will know the fundamentals, which means that if you go for CCTV as a defense, you are almost guaranteed to lose that.
I mean, yeah, statistically, it's tricky to hold on to. Statistically, it's very good for well-put-together teams to attack, as you said. Fundamentals are fun for you and me, and mainly for SQ. They know how to bring themselves into and against problems that are put before them. So they're going to be trying to stretch this as long as possible. BDS, talking of, they went for what was a tool hold, and it was well picked apart by Soniqs. The time was wasted, and coming down to that final 20 seconds on the drop and losing the dropper just based on a flash that might have popped a split second earlier, as you said, it's nothing that can truly been relied on, but it gets you the first round. Then you're on a reset, everyone's back to the medal with full pockets, so where's the medal going to stand? Another hot drone right the way through, right underneath the gym.
Just making sure they have all these cameras up and running. We've mentioned it many, many times before, Soniqs, super strong with the information game, and that is so far proven to be difficult for BDS to deal with. They keep on losing out this first pick, or the first 2 to go against them. And then they need to fight back. So Gio goes for the upside down rappel. They want to be bypassing the mute jammer if it would be out there. Not the case this time, and the opening will be made. Brede, falling back into these showers, needs to make sure that he is in a safe position right there, because his position is going to be next on the line.
With 4 frag grenades making their way underneath the site itself, they're going to see if they can start trying to go fishing. Nikafak is waiting for that approach round on the strip door, and Gio's going to break their way across construction. Isolate the room, isolate the fight, and isolate the players. Make sure that they do not have those clean routes through back. There is a singular force and focus around CC from the side of BDS that's just going to be playing off to himself, but Shaiko actually been able to slip his way a little bit closer with Lems now having a single player as a support line between the two. Soniqs is still trying to find this route through, and with Brede re-electrifying this wall, that's not getting opened this time.
Still has to be afraid, though. That's why you see him juggle a little bit. He's afraid that someone might be jumping right after him, so needs that small bit of support. Holographic is coming back online after the EMP has worked out, and that means that, well, potentially we see the next set to be tossed in another EMP. But it should be followed up by a grenade if they want to make sure that wall opens up, and Grixer is the only one that carries one right now, and he's downstairs.
That's it right now. You can see BDS, they're still holding firm, and although Soniqs have done a lot of structural work here, push does have to come to a shove, and it's coming up here. Kansan hot droned by two different players to see if he can get a lead into an angle. The C4 does not quite catch the lead in, and we're finding ourselves once again in the last second push, the pop of the smoke. Kansan might utilize that, but it's Shaiko that takes care of Gunner inside construction. Renshiro's ready with open arms, but nobody seems to be hitting logistic hatch. This is going to turn into a drive right through into Jim, with EFAC getting one more on the back. Oh no, it is the hatch, and it is the kit going cold on the top floor. They cannot get that in time and get the plant down. They've got to try and push for kills. Rexon gets two, Grixer with one. Suddenly it's a 2 versus 1. Grixer, he's got to try and find the two remaining players. They're on either side. There's the first. Can he make the sprint? The pistol pops. Brede, he's out of there.
And the 2-0 is going to be BDS as they drop that diffuser. Not quite sure if they were aware, but Thomas getting back into it. I like the phones being used. Some nice little, there's a very post coming through. And Bar Stage is up next, as I predicted. We are preventing to see CCTV, at least for now. Teams not wanting to go there as of yet. And thus the Bar and Stage is next. Now, Bar and Stage has had a interesting history, especially back when it was Bar and Stock. Almost never played, almost unwinnable due to the lack of verticality you have out there. So, you know what, they just moved that bomb chassis towards the stage area, and suddenly the site becomes viable. Suddenly, the top floor is able to be used to hold on to the site, and especially the hatch and construction is going to be crucial for it. So possibly, and most likely, the hatch will not be reinforced, because you do not want to be locking yourself outside of that site. And it will be opened up, so you have the opportunity to stop any of those plans from happening. To hold on to it, we'll have the extensions towards the jacuzzi wall, just reinforce that off, make it hard for them to get in, and of course, the CCTV balcony as well, and the logistics wall, just to make it hard for the attackers to get in there, allowing defenders the best possible opportunity to hold on to that top floor, which is, again, so important.
BDS, if you can thread this the third round in a row, it sets you off to a very good pace, especially playing on this tertiary site. Soniqs have still been able to get themselves close, especially in that last round. And I guess that's always the threat. They can gun, and they were gunning so well in the last map that that really was the defining factor and feature, because we didn't really have that from BDS here. Brede, who I think took a while to get his first take, as OLMs gets that. The classic bandit trick.
Watching it. A drone inside of Jim should have been aware. You should have been going for the double at the same time. That's exactly what they're doing right now with the Selmas. And that's what they should have done from the start, but now an impact comes through, takes out one, still allows them for a bit of a breach. But it's not going to be opened up as much as they want it to be. And that's a lot of utility used. That is 1 extra thermic and 2 Selma charges gone off the board.
He made the right decision there. As soon as they both got popped open, and sure, he might have been able to electrify one, they're just going to spray him through the angle that gets opened up anyway. There's a good use of the Flores drone, and this, the strip-sided push, isn't always something that comes against EU teams. They might have to try and rebuild against it. Usually, this hold is one that's built around the plant on the stage on the far end. Soniqs, they're going for that alternate take. They're trying to put the pressure, and Alem suffers the next bout of it with a bit of an explosion, but still standing. Yeah. And Shaiko makes sure Gunner isn't. Swings the corner, finds another for his trouble. 5 over 3 rounds. Will that keep growing?
Now, the rest of the Soniqs have come back towards the Jacuzzi side, so I believe that the top floor is going to be more important than they might have thought about before. They need to get rid of these players. And the Impact TMP is coming through, instantly followed up by Grenade to clear out any piece of utility out there. LMs gets injured, and that is going to be an opportunity for Soniqs to move in now, but Shaiko looking to retake that ground.
They just slip on by, but there's two other players that want to find a route through, and Shaiko gets one. He's trying to find one more, pockets it, and there's Brede putting Rexon in a pocket. It's Shaiko! Finds his third, leaves Grixer long alone in stock, but Liquifac's happy to send him on his way. 3 rounds in a row.
And so far, BDS is living up to the hype that comes with them and Clubhouse in the same sentence. French flags coming out. They'll be appreciating that.
I think they need it.
They need it. They need that support. They're a map down. They know they need to perform here and after that on Bank. And so far, they're doing that job for the map we're currently at. Making sure that defenses are sticking. And as the tactical timeout has been called by Soniqs, they hope to go for a bit of an adaptation there. They want to get some of these attacking rounds on the board to allow themselves that fighting opportunity on the defense themselves.
I mean, it's definitely been trickier. We talked about this on the desk. Well, I say we. I didn't. You didn't.
I didn't talk about it. I don't know.
The desk was talking about it. Of this map selection is tricky. Sure, both these teams have similar map pools. It makes things a little bit trickier, but they both accidentally almost ended up picking each other's best map. BDS are trying to prove that right now. They have to. They have no other recourse. They have no other response they can make. There's a bit of extra space that's afforded to them in Clubhouse. That's a difference of maybe 30 seconds on a push to a minute that seems to be scarpering Soniqs' way of broaching and approaching the sites. On Border, they could be short and sharp. They could get themselves dug in, take those loose BDS players out before they could start to swing and respond. Look at BDS's difference this time round. That extra little bit of wiggle room means that they can start to play into their own. Okay, Shaiko is 7-1 after 3 rounds.
It helps.
It helps.
Brede's also hitting the mark, you know, currently 4-0. He had a very troublesome game.
He did. He took a while to really connect with it. They struggled to get their teeth into the showdown. But there was one of the things we talked about at BDS last map was there wasn't anyone properly popping off. Soniqs had 2. That is a difference maker.
It definitely is. And as we head back towards the basement, I don't think... Oh, maybe LMs is going to be sticking up, but the rest is definitely falling back. Now, also headed down the stairs. So, BDS is going for the turtle strategy here, allowing... Ooh, is that going to get it? No, that's not going to be getting the other one. That's going to be an opening, so Liquefact needs to get out very quickly here.
Yeah, he would rather keep a hold of that and put it on a hatch than sort of sit around and leave it to be easily shot at on the back end, where they just weren't there in time, or not, either way. It means that will stay open for now and be a cause for concern. And concern was time last time round for Soniqs. Their push came down in 20 seconds. They went with the blinds, and it was a little bit waylaid, which meant that Shaiko was able to strike the kit, get it cold, and suddenly you got to play a game of pick up sticks.
I mean, that was it, right? They needed to just get in and make sure that they had the opportunity to get that plan down. Then the fire started popping. Then the grenades started flying in. C4s were being tossed over. Like, they were really making sure on BDS that Soniqs didn't have a single second apiece. So they need to make sure they're a bit quicker now. They can start getting rid of that utility just moments earlier. Luckily for them, there's no fire, but there's this time going to be smokes on the board. So Brede should be a crucial pickup. Would they find him?
Liquefact is going to sit and wait patiently underneath the Moto hatch and see if he can try and remove any electronics that's coming through. You can see Soniqs is having to take a little bit more time because obviously this was played in a slightly different manner before and they went for a bit of a deep dive. Don't want to get caught out by the potential of one of the 2 C4s here. This is potentially prime C4 territory and there is a player tucked around underneath. I think it might be one that finds himself a little bit isolated here. Kansan's been able to slip past. The Impact DMP doesn't quite get the claw, missed the mark. The second one can't get it either. And that is both gone. That is a hatch staying hard. They have the reveal on it, hoping that they can sort of break it from the side.
It is possible, but it does require you to be very accurate with this Hibana X Kairos. Actually managed to get the hatch like that. Well done by Gunnar. And that's going to be allowing them to open up, but the impacts are coming through. Is it in time? No, it's not. Yes, it might be. Not quite sure if the hatch opened up. Yes, it has.
But Gunner suffers as he tries to pull back. Moto will stay locked. You're looking at 40 seconds, and now the drive in the fight here through to the back end. Kansan's getting a bit of a hot drone. The grenade gets the claw, so they should be able to get that hatch, but as Rexon gets slightly revealed, he doesn't want to extend too far down. The second breach and break. We're looking at a big limitation in terms of time here once again for Soniqs. They're going to see if they can try and put pressure onto the pipes wall. They're going for the drop aggressively in. Grix around onto the back line, buy themselves some space, and Shaiko buys one more body onto blue. There's Shaiko with one more. Can he get the third? He can! Shaiko, backed up by EFAC, gets it across the board. Kansan's in the sight, but Alems is there too! 4 rounds in a row.
Good waste of utility coming through. And as we have a fun fact coming up, all 4 of the semi-finalists have participated in the Hot 6 challenge. I'm not saying you're scripted.
So some teams refuse to take on. Do you know what? Talent has been begging.
We've been begging to do it.
Parker and Stokes really wanted to do it more than I think anybody.
I mean, if they have it, just bring up the hot sauce now.
I feel like Milos would just criticize the quality of the food. He'd be like, these meatballs.
They're not authentic.
I don't know who would be good at spicy.
I can take spice really well, I dare to say.
Yeah. They're both hyper confident.
Parker and Stokes?
Oh, yeah.
I can understand. Easy also wants to do it.
Easy the Observer wants to do it.
I've heard stories he's not too good with spice, though.
If you want to see Parker and Sam suffer the Hot Wings challenge, please tweet at our account.
That is a hot meatball.
Beg them to do it. Hot meatball.
Hot meatballs.
Hot 6.
Hot 6.
Okay, enough about that. How about this? BDS, 4 rounds in a row. It's still possible for Soniqs to pull the 2 required to have a bit of a balanced half here, but it's not that it feels like there's a bit of steam gone from the engine. It feels like BDS have had a bit of a kick into theirs here, Shaiko especially, obviously, but there's always the game of 2 halves. There's always the form and the factor that we will be over towards BDS attacking on this map, where with these bans, it's probably something where the defenders have a little bit more to work with. Kaid still on the board. You know, those claws can be very defining for certain points.
Yes, but the Thatcher is still going to be open as well. It shouldn't be an excuse for a hatch to stay close like that. Now this is going to be happening again. A bandit truck to come through. Why? Why do you just toss it up there? It happened twice in a row now. What you need to do is as simple as tossing up a Selma charge right next to it. You cannot get both. Now they need to be utilizing their EMP gadgets at the same time as well to make sure that wall opens up. Now, CCTV is going to be opened up, but Selma will be used. In the meantime, pressure is coming down from the oil pit.
Yeah, it was the swing up from oil pit. Takes the head off of Gunner as he tried to loop his way back up to the stairs. There's a little bit of caution now being paid by Soniqs. They want to go for the pickup, but Rexon is so concerned about somebody playing inside pit underneath. It has taken a minute 30-ish to get the clear over on this side. I'll say that by the time they finally put some pressure onto CC and realize it's empty, there goes Gio. He's digging his way across, and this is a slower approach than what we had last time round from Soniqs. But remember how this round went last time? The kit was lost on the roof and nobody was there to collect it. This buys Soniqs a plan B, something that I think at this point they're sort of desperately in need of.
Yeah, for sure, and there's still plenty of time to make something happen here. However, they need to be careful that they're not limiting themselves too much through a single doorway or a hallway. They need to find that opening and almost find it on a lens down below. That would have been able to open up that main stairs for a push as well, but for now, that stays locked in. They need to be utilizing the windows instead.
The minute mark rolls through, and Kansan's getting them a straight route through onto EFAC, who's tucked himself onto the hard swing underneath the logistics hatch. If it gets revealed, it is something that might be able to be pulled apart, but not really by a frag grenade. We have all the flashes in the world, but you got to have the drive behind it. That's the risk. The swing round, Shaiko cannot win this firefight. Rexon finally ends the torture the Frenchman's been able to put against them. Grixer gets the second. Soniqs, for the first time since Border, have the upper hand. They have what seems like a good lead in, and they have 30 seconds to try and turn it into the end. Gunner knows there's a play around on the back end, and Alems is able to take the fight and suddenly says, turn around, I'm behind you. Grixer gets Renshiro, though. They put the pressure on the side. It's 2 for Brede! He has the lockdown. There's the third. One more with the pistol. There's the connection of 1 versus 1. Kansan and Brede either side, but it's Brede!
What a clutch from Brede. He's back at it. Was literally pinned down into that bathroom. He had to go for swings, and he managed to make them stick because the players on Soniqs too worried about the flank coming down. And that is a perfect moment for Lambs to just rotate back up the red stairs, make his presence known, and allow BDS to get back into the round.
What a bit of energy that is. We talked about missing moments and players that weren't quite as loud as they could have been on Border, and how loud Soniqs were, and here it is vice versa. You take one of ours, Brede doesn't die. He has almost gone the whole half, and he sits one better than the 007 meme I know our socials are working on at this point. But still, it is entirely the factor that wasn't quite on the other side. BDS are one away from pulling a perfect half here, and one away from putting themselves one away from map 3, and what a return it's been.
It'll definitely be a dominant way back into this game, back into this series. After just narrowly losing out on the first quarter, 7-5. As close as it gets in regulation. As the mirror windows are being set up, BDS impose a new challenge upon the attack of Soniqs. There'll be no Twitch here to use to get rid of them. They need to go for verticality instead, or remove the soft wall it's placed upon. Kansan quickly inside that garage, hoping to put some pressure down horizontally. Instead going up, going to the top. Making sure that Cash and CC will not be staffed, will not be manned by BDS, but instead cut down by his sledge themselves.
Soniqs, they have one more chance here to give themselves a little bit of breathing room on the second half, and on the second swing on the tertiary site, this could be the moment. This is a very different approach in that they're putting focus onto CC. I talked about it before. The strip take isn't the most common that EU goes against. Does he expect the fight is already stacked on the window? I don't think he does. And there is an easy pickup for Kansan. He's able to pull back. Great punishment there from Soniqs. It's a growth and an ability we talked about on the previous map, and finally, for my money, we're starting to see it utilized.
Rinchero a bit too slow there with using that mirror window, but most likely was watching the hatch in case of a drop to happen. But taking out Shaiko early on, that is a big pickup. Now you need to see if you can isolate Brede, because you mentioned it before, the man does not die. And with that mirror window still being out there in construction, Soniqs do not really have any form of freedom and safety yet, until that gets taken out.
This from Soniqs is so much sharper, so much quicker. And if it comes at the dying death of this half, well, at least they're gonna buy themselves a bit of room. Renjiro's a bit panicked. He's not entirely sure where the fight's coming from. It's the grenade. Kansan, he finds his second for the round bounced. He's trying to keep the cool, calm collection, but there it is. EFAC now the next under pressure. Will he pull back? Grixer, they've instantly got this, the control of stage. As I said, this is how BDS are most used to suffering it, and they're suffering it a lot worse than they did before. Gio's gonna go for the plant. Pulls himself off as the ping comes through. Does EFAC? No, it's being watched either side. There's one to the left, and Brede does get 2 for the trade out of 3 versus 2, but the kit needs to now be recollected and replanted. Alems, he's tucked onto the back end and the hot pings, but it's EFAC on the back line. Inside stock, they're in a pain sandwich, and it's full of the French word for it. The spray on the back is EFAC!
What a way to end this half, as they manage to, again, find themselves a way back into the round after Soniqs. They had the upper hand. They cleared out those players. They suddenly had the top flow control. They could have gone for the plant, but again, the flank, twice in a row now, hurting Soniqs. They don't have to worry about that anymore, though, as they will be heading over towards the defense themselves. The thing they have to worry about, though, is going to be the 6 rounds that BDS currently have on the board. They need to go flawless for 6 in a row themselves. Would they want to lock it off and prevent us from going to bank?
Soniqs now have to repeat the pretty tricky 2, a perfect half. Now, this was their map to opt to bring themselves to. This was them sort of making the statement, well, we enjoy this, regardless of how much you love it. We want to sort of be the end to the Cinderella story of BDS often told on this map. And okay, BDS, you might not have the record on it that you've had for such a long time, but the rule isn't proved by the outlier,
5 seconds remaining.
as I'm sure are many statisticians.
I mean, if anything, like an exception to the rule, right? Like proves that it does exist to some extent. But Soniqs now on that defense. They need to stall BDS as much as they possibly can. They're already getting some spots down from the prisoners that have been placed by Rexen. And looking underneath the barricade there, hoping to find someone. A long-range breach coming out from BDS to ensure that top floor from being opened up, whilst keeping up the pressure onto the garage right away. Grixer takes a little bit of damage from BDS, heavily entering from the stock area.
Oh, they're spraying through. They know there's a player they can chase here. Grixer's got himself tucked by the pool table, holding on hope. Shaiko, he took a quick entrance into stock, and he's going to try and catch maybe the rotate underneath Kansan. But he's otherwise sitting pretty there on the top of red. There's the breach, but he is isolated, and he's going to see how many bodies he can try and take without this, potentially, though. Gunnar going very aggressive on the Sing. Shaiko goes down to Grixer. Grixer almost gets caught in response, but there it is. Gunnar gets that surprise strike, takes the drop. They thought they knew where all the Soniqs players were, missing one important form factor, and now Lems. He's tucked out, and Grixer, look at this, he's taken back the territory he lost, the two-body advantage. It doesn't matter how wounded he is. He wants to see if he can try and take on one more.
That's it, right? You need to keep up that pressure. You're still able to one-shot any given operator in the game. As Renshiro goes down by Grixer, they're unaware of the fact that he's located in that bar. Now they know that when LM's looking to hunt him down, but again, not going to be completely sure. Need to find the angle. Kenzen going aggressive up on the top floor as well. He might have been finding BDS there, who was on that drone. The phone call will definitely help trying to find the player.
Oh, no!
It's a triple kill for Grixer, only leaving it up to BDS. Now he's rotating around.
Huge play from Grixer here. Soniqs, as we said, it needs to be a perfect, and they've opened in just that manner. BDS, he's currently sitting on a 10-1, and it's got to end as a 15-1 if he wants to win this round and lock this map out as soon as possible. There is a lot of players still in front of him, and players that are hungry for the violence that's being offered. The ping on the first is his. The header Rexen is taken off very cleanly, but with 45 seconds and the smoke canisters and the swing coming through, there's a bit of a connection. A second smoke pops off. They're looking for either angle. Soniqs are sort of making the statement and spraying through the walls, but they're also not entirely overextending. They don't want to give him anything for this lock-in on this round, and now, with only about 20 seconds left, and still a C4, and still 4 guns to try and run through, it's a Grixer round.
A 4K from him to keep Soniqs in it. But again, it's only the start. They need to find 5 more if they want to have an opportunity of pushing this to overtime, and then take it from there on forward. It is a very tall hill to climb. But, you know, it is definitely possible. We're seeing these crazy comebacks happen time and time again. And it does show that you have that mental fortitude that you need as a championship-winning team. So, Soniqs, can you do it here, or you're going to be trying to take it on back? Time will tell.
I mean, it's still a long road. It's still a very long road ahead of them, and that was almost the perfect start. I'm still going to put it in with a little asterisk on a single death, but the way that they moved and manipulated the play space, if I talk about how well Soniqs had the intel game driven on border, they played against BDS's there. It could turn into an undoing if it's something that starts to spiral, because it's an energy, it's momentum. It only takes one to score. It only takes one connection to go into the favor of BDS, and then suddenly maybe you start to get around being defined either side. And as long as Soniqs can try and stay ahead of that curve, well, we've seen clutches this game already.
We've seen clutches, that's for sure. However, the worry I have is that we're headed towards CCTV, Emmy. They need to have an early victory here. They need to make a spawn kill stick. If they do so, they might have found success. But Grixer almost got his head taken off. At least this allows BDS to move in safely towards garage, towards the balcony, where they need to be to do their prep work.
Well, we talked about, obviously, Thatcher. We talked about how he is on the board. He can play against this, the chance at holding off a wall that isn't otherwise being held off. They're not sort of doing anything to immediately stop this. The approach and the breach should be able to pop off for either side. You might still be able to utilize it in some manner as Rexen decides to try and take a scrappy fight down the stairs with the door open. Well, now he's not going to be able to do the same thing, just misses the rotate round on the back, and BDS, he's confident that he'll be able to pull this off, and with my infinite knowledge of being able to see, he will.
Yeah, shouldn't be too much of an issue. And now BDS, they've done step 1 and 2. The next, what they need to do is actually find themselves a way to take that garage under control, to clear out the rafters. But as you just saw, there's a player that rotated back down. It's Gunner, who dropped down all the way towards the basement. You might be wondering what he's going to do there. Well, he has the opportunity to rotate to Oil Pit, for example. So if they do instead move up the staircase, they could pressure him.
That was, I believe, the impact there, utilized to get rid of the claymores on the door. They're going to see if they can try and prep themselves up, the danger of the run out here, and just make them second guess as the pressure starts to come across the front and the face of the site. It's still on BDS to try and force either the next bit of movement. There's everything to catch the grenades over the top. They're instead maybe going to see if they can try and fish some pressure underneath. Kansan is offering some of the swing support to Rexon, who's still locked in, and you can see pockets and pockets full of ADSs and catches here. If it hits the disc first, it means that it might destroy either side. It's a jump out that is punished. Gunner got on the back of EFAC, and there's one more on the stairs. Brede watching. Kansan and LMs suddenly find one extra either side. Geo, he's in a close fight, and he wins it out. Pixel perfect had to be. As I said, clutches aren't the most uncommon in this showdown, but now, in a brutal manner, they've been able to take control of rafters. The next is theirs, Brede. Geo is all that is left here for Soniqs on this map. He's got to hold off the French tide that coincides with a drive right through onto the back of the server stack. There's hot pings on one. He knows he's being watched. The flashes, they're either side. Brede, he's going to get the stick. Lems is pre-firing the angles. Geo, he goes for a smoke on it. It's too late to stop the plant. 45 seconds separates it. I don't know if we'll see it. We will not.
As Lems closes it out, and BDS, they find a bounce back. After a close loss on the first with a 7-5, they find themselves a 7-1 victory, showing that they're here to play, showing that they want to be making it to the finals. And they punished Soniqs perfectly well in that last round. An overpeak by the jump out, punished. After that, a player stepping up onto the staircase, punished as well. And with that, they find that 7-1 victory, bringing in the momentum for the next.
We will go to a quick break before with the desk to break it down.
I'm Nicholas Martin, but you know me as Pingu. I'm a two-time Rainbow Six Siege World Champion and former top Rainbow Six Siege player in Pro League. Welcome to my Siege Ranked Bootcamp. We're talking 20 seconds left on the clock, you got the diffuser in hand, what do? Play the way that you're comfortable with, because you have confidence when you're in this position. That is when you're gonna be at your very best. Good luck.
And welcome back, friends, to the analyst desk. BDS took it, and they will take it to map 3 in this series. Seems like it was a bit of a mistake to take BDS to their favorite map, Clubhouse. But hey, we all make mistakes. You know, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has those days. One of my favorite songs out there. Anyways, hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Ostamatic, your host. With me are Afama and Fresh, who is a big Swiftie here also with us.
I've got a different song.
Oh, no, please.
Why would you take BDS to Clubhouse?
I mean, I understand, though.
Why?
It made sense, right?
Did it?
They had a 100% win rate on it. There were, I think, 5 win streak on Clubhouse for Soniqs. I understand it's BDS house, but I also understand why they would take them to Clubhouse, right? It was the safe bet. They know how to play Clubhouse. They've demolished TSM on it yesterday. Okay, you would have thought they could do the same against BDS. But the thing is, I noticed, against TSM, they struggled to close it out in attack, right? And they started attack on Clubhouse, couldn't put a single attack in.
And that's what I was trying to, that's what I was thinking about, is that yesterday they went up against TSM attacking first, who really struggled, right? They got the, was it a 5-1 split they got on the defense, Soniqs? And then they, like you say, they just about closed it out. Whereas now they've got to start attack against BDS, who, Clubhouse is literally, when I think of the top Clubhouse teams in the world, I think of W7M, I think of SSG, and I think of BDS. And it's just, they were punishing everything that Soniqs were doing wrong. The amount of times we saw bandit tricks, clutches, just the team play from Soniqs wasn't there, and BDS punished everything.
Literally 3 things. Utility-based, like you said, the bandit tricks, right? Second thing, Shaiko was consistently looking for opening engagements and being disruptive to the attack. And if you lose one player on Clubhouse, it becomes harder because it's a methodical map. And then it was just the final cherry on the top. Bride was just an obstacle you could never overcome. On site, he was able to clutch all the disadvantage situation. He didn't care. He played the position to his absolute best of his ability and was able to close it out every time.
So how do Soniqs reset from this now and prepare for map number 3? And we're not going to talk about map number 3 specifically, but learning from what happened in Clubhouse.
For me, it's all about controlling the pace again. That's what it was all about. BDS controlled every single round from start to finish, whether it was in the opening engagement to the site execution. Now, you've got 2 options. Either you match up with the aggression, you've got Rex and you've got Quickser, you're able to have frag-heavy players that can take back that pacing. Or second thing, you go even more methodical and you focus, rather than focusing on the objective and going slow, focus on killing Shaiko or the roamers first. Get the mad advantage, then focus on objectives.
And I think first and foremost as well is you've immediately got to recover from that loss as well. Whichever decision you take, you've now just been beaten very comfortably on your map choice. For BDS, they were only just pipped on their map choice, but Soniqs were beaten very comfortably on their map choice. So you've got to let it go. You've got to just not think about it. Essentially now we're going to be playing a best of 1 to see who gets to the grand final. Both maps are now gone. Get it out of your head and just focus on what you've got to do. Don't even think about, oh, I could have done this in the previous game. Just think about Bank and how you can affect the positive change on Bank.
All right, our map summary is going to pull up on the screen here in just a moment. You'll see our performers of all 10 players, or performance of all 10 players in the server. A big advantage here for BDS, but this time it's kind of Renshiro that's fallen back, but that's not really his job to get the kills.
Bride, 13-2. Now, Bride through stage 3 has been like 2020 Bride again, like absolutely unstoppable. He got into this tournament and he's actually had a very quiet tournament so far. And then he has just popped up 13-2. And he actually plays a lot of suicide positions. He plays a lot of difficult positions for BDS on Clubhouse. And like you said, Leo, he was just stubborn and he was just fighting everything.
Honestly, I was so jealous of him. Like, I was a support player too. He plays every super hard position. He plays it to the best every time. He picks when it's the right timing. He gets the right kills. He moves around the plan the best way possible. I was jealous of him.
Can someone check him PC? Is the sentence that we use for this one. But there it is. Some things to look at. But if we were to turn to our MVP for this map, who do you think it would be?
I think we might have just talked about it.
Yeah, Bride, right?
Oh, well.
We would assume that it was Bride, but, he does play those suicide positions. He plays them so well, and it's about the trust. And he trusts that Shaiko is going to be the guy that's, going to get those engagements from him. He's going to trust that EFAC will get those guys. And then when he's there and he has to make the plays, he's not afraid to. Doesn't matter that he's playing fairway. Doesn't matter that he's playing bandit. Bandit tricking. Trusts his teammates have got any avenue he could be killed from. Even on Maestro, swinging out top main in 2v4. Knows when to get aggressive. Knows when to play utility. Very smart player across the board.
All right. How about we talk about our next map? Why not? We have a map 3, so good, already a massive improvement over what we had yesterday, with only 1 out of the 4 games being a map 3, a 3-mapper series-wise. And now we'll go to Bank. Now, Soniqs are starting off on the defense, is what I'm getting from our admin team. Is that something that we need to worry about? Because at the beginning we were talking, you know what? BDS have an advantage on all 3 maps. Jack, you broke down the percentages also, and look how close Border was. Clubhouse was a runaway for BDS. How does this go?
I think it's the perfect opportunity for Soniqs to get back in the game. They really struggle to control the pace in attack, right? Now, Bank is a big map with lots of opportunities for roamers to make the difference and be challenging attackers. Now, if they're able to have Rex and Grixer go out of sight, challenge the opponents, and really be disruptive to BDS, now they were going to contest them again.
I have Soniqs having a very low preference on Bank. And I was, in the ban phase, I was very worried because I thought you can only pick into a good map for BDS, whichever way you go, because the map pools were so aligned. For BDS, I think that they might they found some inconsistency on Bank. You know, we've seen in EUL where Shaiko's playing Osa, where he's playing Pulse, where they don't really know where they want to put their best players in terms of what roles they want to put them on Bank. It might be to do with the fact that it is so big, this is so opportunistic, that they've had this inconsistency. So BDS prefer Bank, but are they attackable on it? Absolutely.
And I'm just thinking about Soniqs playing Bank. I remember they lost 7-3 to TSM during the NA League, and TSM played super aggressive. That was a big problem for Soniqs. They could not handle it. And the thing is, maybe they thought in picking Bank that BDS would play the defense the same way they played it yesterday against Wolves, which was time-wasting, super passive. But I think right now, BDS has shown they're super proactive. They're not passive anymore.
They're not afraid to bring a Lion, a Dekebi, a Nook. I mean, we saw how abused Lion was in our last matchup. So, yeah, there's a lot of options here for BDS. Soniqs have an uphill battle on Bank. Can they redeem themselves and take it to a grand final, basically take it 2-1? Or will it be BDS that have bounced back on map 2? We're going to figure out in just a bit after this short break.
Oh my God! Yes, he's cried. Yes, yes, yes.
Are you guys ready?
No.
No.
Board the helicopter.
What?
That's Border, boy.
Well, first up we have the recruit.
Knock yourself out. You can't do that. You can't do that.
You can't what? I'm still gonna have to eat it.
No, you can't smell it. You just gotta go for it. Yeah.
It's coming. Oh yeah, we're in trouble.
That's the first one.
No, it's not bad at all. It's pretty good. The recruit's pretty good. Kanto. Yeah, chug, boy.
What am I supposed to do? Do I go to the next one? Fire bolt, look at that. I'm not smelling it, bro. I'm not gonna want to eat. I'm not smelling it.
It kind of gives you like an anticipation. It doesn't even have the hot sauce in it. Wait, what? You cheated.
Yeah, it does.
No, it doesn't. You cut that shit in half and then you fucking ate the one that. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Keep an eye on this guy. I'm on to you. What was that? Is that good?
Yeah, that one actually wasn't that spicy.
What do you think? Out of 10?
2.
Really?
and welcome back here for what is the third of 3 Soniqs took BDSs. They returned the favor, so now we just got to take it to the bank.
BDS definitely built up some good momentum though, and they will be looking to, well, bring that forward over towards Bank to truly cash in on the advantage they might have been able to build up.
I mean, EU versus NA, it all boils down to just this. Who will be in the final? Oh, that's a little bit spicy.
Spicy music coming out.
I believe that's our spicy music.
Means that we're headed into that final map. Now the bands are coming through. Again, you won't be able to see it as of yet. So the first one is on us. It is Soniqs that ban out Nuck.
Now we get the whoop.
Yeah, now the crowd can play along.
There it is.
I was gonna say, it takes a bit. Here, Barna.
Well, we're on a big screen out there, I think longer.
Oh, are we now? Okay.
Yeah. We're giant. I saw Giant Fresh there. We'll let them go through this. We haven't had a single booed ban this time.
Not yet, no.
If this is Tachanka,
I doubt it.
You never know against BDS
you never
on
know.
Bank.
I mean, to be fair, it does get played on the basement sometimes.
It does.
So it wouldn't be too
If there's a map for him to be banned,
it would be this one against BDS. It's Azami, okay.
It's Azami. Big Tim, it makes me miss him, makes me miss Des. There was one funny response to the sign in the audience, Sonic Small Club.
Oh, yes?
Instantly, Des all capsed a group chat.
What'd he say?
He's watching.
He
loved it. He loved it.
I was going to say, is it PG or...
All right, Soniqs, let's be honest. The last map is probably best quickly forgotten about. As far as you're concerned, it's a best of 1 now. As far as anyone's concerned, it's a best of 1, but BDS, for sure, have a lot of momentum. Not only taking their opponent's map, but dispatching them in a fashion that was almost a 7-0. There was one good round from Soniqs. Inadvertently, it was the one that they won. There was one that was a back and forth that could have been theirs.
I mean, there was multiple good rounds from them, right? I mean, there was 2 or 3 clutches where BDS managed to maintain a flawless first half. It's just that, you know, that kind of hits harder, I think. You know, yes, 7-1, but you also lost 3 clutch situations against BDS. That is not something they'll be more than happy with. So, as the hatch is about to be reinforced, there's going to be a slight extension towards the open area, as you see on the open hatch. Essentially one player out there to stand his ground for as long as he possibly can. Raxon seems to be tasked with that role to try and make sure that BDS doesn't have a safe way into open area and just, you know, allow to open up those hatches for basically nothing.
All right, BDS. Starting on the attack here, you don't have the benefit of a defense that was very solid. You, in fact, I guess, have the continuation of what would have been a half that you're about to and ready to play on the previous map. Soniqs, I mean, when you have spots named after you on a map, we've talked about it before, it's just as relevant here, but Renshiro, he gets the opener onto Rexon across open. He's going to keep a bit of a keen eye. I'd be surprised if Soniqs rotate back up, but this double up might mean that maybe we want to see if we can try and bite some territory.
Trying to go for the aggression. I mean, we mentioned it before on border. That was a disturbing factor for BDS. They weren't quite able to deal with it up to the standard they are used to. But instead they pull back. They're not going to commit, and they just leave it with the entry kill and a little bit of damage done towards Renshiro, knowing as well that the basement is always going to be quite difficult to attack. Luckily, they still have plenty of utility left, though, like 4 Vulcan canisters placed, 3 smoke canisters left in pocket, 2 impacts that could be used as well to stop that plant from happening. So they'll be focusing on that rather than getting the kills back.
Softed up, and Gio couldn't quite lean into a pre-fire through it, but the attention is being paid pretty quickly, so he gets out of there. Tucks himself in behind the server stack. He's going to see if he can try and play this to survive for as long as possible. Possible. There's the possible pop on the fire canister, just tucked underneath. Do they have the read on the player? Well, with that being caught out, I think he knows there's about to be some pressure behind it. The impact thrown preemptively, the little bit extra disc, but no one on BDS immediately there to put the pressure on.
It's just to make sure that some of that utility does get wasted and you keep the pressure on the player behind the stack, but BDS not really looking forward to be dropping for the default take. Seems like default and elevator are going to be the main entry point as flanks are setting themselves up as well. Smokes prepared by LMs together with the fire potentially coming out from the crossbow there. They're going for the hot drop right into the vault.
There it is, Renshiro finds another one on the back line of Grixer. Gold starts to fall and, well, there's Geo picked up and there's Renshiro for his third. Gunner gets lost out, and it's a flawless opener there.
And they continue that momentum that they were building up before. I mean, I mentioned it. It is going to be mentally hitting on you as Soniqs to basically have that good first map on, you know, that 7-5 victory, leading that into the 7-1 loss with multiple clutches happening against you. You need to snap back out of that. As you mentioned, treat it like a best of one. Treat it like it's that, you know, group stage area that we're in, where they were supreme. Open area next. A lot of gadgets being set up. Evil eyes up high on the wall just to make sure that it's going to be difficult for an operator to reach it and knife it just in case. Bulletproof cameras as well. Now we will see a bit of an extension happen due to the castle out there, so those barricades are going to be providing a bit of safe space, and one will be placed in stock. And that's going to be limiting the rotation the attackers will get once they do decide to take that area of the map, because they will only have the windows to jump out from.
A long time ago, on a map far, far away, Soniqs instantly bit back. They had themselves an even half on an attack ground, and they just needed to find some of the energy. And at this point, it's still more than possible. I mean, if BDS can bounce back into that manner, you know Soniqs are capable of just that. They've had a fantastic tournament. Fortunately for them, the only real thing they lost earlier was the very beginning against an EU team. So here's maybe that moment to try and remember that statistic from, as I said, a tournament that's been brilliant. BDS, they came in on the second seed. They didn't get off to the sharpest start. Turns out they're almost the opposite of the French counterparts, where when they hit themselves into best of threes, they really start to shine. Can they keep that shine on? The light starts trailing and cascading over the top of square. Attention paid onto skylights in the back line of stock. They don't really care about the numbers. They're more focused on this, the shield on the corner swing of the vending machine.
Long angles being set up by Soniqs here, but that is going to be up on that top floor. It's not the eventual site. So BDS, they do not need to expend all their utility here. Either way, grenade used to get rid of the castle barricade is going to be upping the pressure for those upstairs. Suddenly, there's a lot more angles that they will be vulnerable from. Yellow pings are coming in as well. They know where Gunner is going to be located, and we might see a swing come through from Shaiko. Yes, he goes for it, but he doesn't quite connect the shots.
I mean, the UMP isn't great in those long ranges, but it does enough to keep him survive and put some pressure back on. Shaiko slips through. He does get caught out, though, LMs. He had the Overwatch, and that's the big thing about Bankers. That's the big thing about Bankers lobby. It has so many sight lines across all the floors. And look at this, Grixer, he finds the fight with the sledge, locks out Ligefak and bites back into the space. Shaiko's from one end. You assume LM's from the other, and the bullets over the bow of Bride can't quite connect with the boat that's moored inside. Pings on the player. Kanza wants to just do some distraction and demolition, buy a second of space for the player that's a little bit lost inside CEO. Can they be the big boss that keeps things in the meter, or are they going to decide to maybe slip away closer to the hatch, ready for the spray through onto stock, hoping they can play this game I talked about on border. Grixer, do they know? That's the big question, and our survey says yes.
I was going to say, there must be a drone out there, as Rexon instantly replies, because otherwise BDS is going to be suffering into the same, well, flaws they had on that very first map. It's still a 3-on-3 though, 40 seconds left on the clock. Open area is not kind to these kind of hatch drops. Executes. I was going to say the RC Rotero placed in the middle of the rotation there might have had the opportunity to catch someone out if it wasn't quite properly made, but Lemsey finds himself now in an opportunity to either cut off any rotation back to the deep side, allowing the jump in to happen as Gio finds Renshiro.
There it is. Bride finds Gio right back and swings on the corner. Kansan, he's in a position now. Does he take the fight flat, or does he throw for the rotate? They're going to get the plant down on the far end. There seems to be an awareness. The hot pings on the high up, bubble on the far end. The spray doesn't quite connect, but it gives the game away. He's finding the first. The second, move back to the break room. Bride. And he takes a bit of a sigh, but still a steady hand. BDS were missing on the first, has bounced back.
They struggled there on the attack initially, BDS. They tried to take control of that top floor. It was heavily fought by Soniqs. Eventually, they did manage to go for a 2-on-2 trade, which is far from ideal if you want to be bringing as many buddies as you want onto the open area side, because there's going to be 2 of those cubicles tucked in on the back with no vertical above, forcing you to go aggressive, to just go for a swing if you want to take them down. That's where you need the extra manpower, but BDS, they did just fine being a single man down. We're headed back towards the locker. Soniqs not continuing a rotation, headed back down towards that basement. Not feeling confident they can do it on any other site now. And it seems like a similar take is coming through, or similar hold, except for the fact that they've changed out operators. We no longer have the Vulcan canisters. Instead, we have a Pulse, we have the Echo, we have the Capcan to try and slow them down as much as they can.
10 seconds remaining.
And they need to play into this from the Sonic side. They need to make sure that they basically force BDS into making these mistakes. And the way you do that is by having that presence up on that top floor. Let them hunt you down as you fall back slowly but steadily.
BDS, they are leading in and leaning in on their attack. Well, that's expected. It's Bank. You generally have a little bit more favor into the side of the attackers. If they get the 3rd in a row here, that's the first sign, I think, that starts to maybe spell something. The previous round was a 1 versus 1. There was some of that flavor of Soniqs we've been treated to throughout this tournament. That Twitch drone will get caught out by the Pulse. There's the chance of an Ossa to maybe bury their way across, and there's that intel game. The drone just getting a bit of a sightline. Doesn't quite get the full read, though.
Ossa is so good, though, on the garage, I mean, because you could just put down a talent shield and suddenly you've cut out many rotations of the actual site itself. Likafak taking tons of damage there in the basement, needs to be checking his corners yet once again and probably wait for a bit of support. He doesn't want to take those fights alone without the opportunity of a trait to come through.
They're trying to encircle this hold and see if they can piece some of the players out. It's obviously a different approach to the last time round, and they hope that they'll be able to get the surprise strike, but it's all Gunners. He's able to dig out the first. The procs will give him some awareness to a second, so he fights and opts for a different door, the route through. In the meantime, Likafak gives himself a punch hole and, well, does not get the catch on Grixer. He's offered some support. They still have the hatches, and at this point, Sonic still have a lot of direct control here. BDS have been rebuffed at every single opportunity.
This should be a Soniqs round from now on. They are aware of the Ossa in the garage. They know there's going to be players up at the top floor as well. However, it is the open area that they do not have control over as Rexon takes down Likafak. It is the Ossa coming up close, and Lems just gets punished for it. Had no clue someone was behind the deployable shield of the defenders themselves, and well, that just leaves Ranchiro and Bride up to try and clutch this out, but it's looking very unlikely like they might be able to pull this off.
Yeah, the plan's failed at this point, boys. You've got to come up with an alternate, and it's not going to be pretty. A 2 versus 5 situation, and for my money, Soniqs haven't really been pressured. Hey, Grixer, we're playing that game again. Do they know? The survey this time? I don't think so. Otherwise, you likely would have suffered the spray through the soft. They picked themselves back up. Bride, he's reloading on the other side of it. Oh, this is one of those moments where the audience sits and watches and waits, and well, I don't think Grix is going to be waiting too much longer. They're attempting the stick of the plant. Rexon finds Bride, and now with the swing round, Ranchiro pushed off 20 seconds. Every single Soniqs player to bite their way through. And I think this situation is pretty much impossible.
I mean, I've already written it off as a Soniqs round about 10 seconds ago here. There is still a grenade kill to come through from Ranchiro. Hopes to find a second with a headshot as well, but Gio a bit quicker on the trigger there. It's going to be allowing Soniqs to pick up there first and make sure that they keep that gap closed. I mentioned it before, Bank overall has been leaning into attackers quite a lot lately. So just quickly pull up those stats. Well, defensive win rate 48%, so it's just barely. But that does mean BDS is expected to at least get 3 or maybe even 4 rounds out here.
It's the thing, I know I sort of highlighted it before in terms of trying to find one of the 3, but if it's the 3rd, it's still on par for the pace. You might have a slow start, but as long as you get that box ticked in that first half, you have room to go. You have room to grow, and that was something I think we all know Soniqs did not really have on their second half. Maybe they might have got a little bit more of a distance inside club if they did. I mean, they still have more of an opportunity to go the distance now. They found their first. Can they try and rebuild and retake an open that came down to a 1 versus 1?
Yeah, I want to see a bit of adaptation coming out from BDS now, because again, they lost a lot of players up on that top floor by trying to take control off it, and I understand why they did it. I mean, you want to use that top floor control yourself. You want to be using those hatches potentially against them. Let's think of grenades, for example, to just roll through. However, you cannot afford to lose that many players. And eventually came down to you just swinging the corners and winning those instead that found you around. That should change. BDS needs to go for a different approach. The E1D is going to be potentially the start of that as the opening comes through from the window.
BDS is sprayed from the back end. They just knew the pressure was there, so may as well pop some bullets through the 2 layers of soft. Geo's doing the same on the little walk-in cupboard, but nobody has decided to opt for that. Instead, it's a rotate up from 2 teams. You can see the movement on the back end of White Stairs, and Rexon's going to just offer some stretch support here and rebuild. You can see the movement from the 3 players of Soniqs on this floor. Well, they put some focus down there. There's an early break. Should get care of that. But the fact that Geo has used both his impacts mean that there's nothing that should stop the potential of a plant no tricks.
Still, of course, some left on the Soniqs players, but it is eventually going to be coming down to you being able to hold the angles and shut them down before they truly enter the site. BDS, of course, are still trying to find themselves in the right positions. It seems like Kanto is going to get opened up, which is going to be putting up some extra pressure onto that top floor. They know it is an issue that probably will look to actually lock down that whole hallway, which allows, well, the attackers to not worry about stock.
That first disc was very clever there. You don't really expect to have to burn at that angle to get it up, but it's removed a very important piece of utility out of the pockets here of the approach without anything else really on the trade-off for the cost. Okay.
Jump out.
They have the jump out, and Bride has the watch. I was about to say, okay, they still have the utility to take care of it. Now, well, Soniqs have lost their ability to pretty much impact trick a single left. There's the reveal, and Likefak's able to get a strike. Suddenly the bells are ringing. And Soniqs is going to have to try and find a response, but Alems gets Geo, Grixa gets 1, looks for the second. It's Alems that gets caught by Gunner, but there's an instant response from Bride. Grixa buried in the chorus site, not for very long. BDS find their third.
2 good entries from BDS there. I said they need to make a change. They cannot afford to take that full top floor under control because they'll lose out too many members as a result.
Is that real or is that a fake?
Yeah, is that a Gemini replicator we're seeing there? I'm not quite sure.
We need to get 2 Iana cosplayers.
Need to get the thermal cameras to truly see. They don't show up on those.
3-1, BDS. They are on par if I talk about the pace that Soniqs need to put on. I mean, BDS are on exactly the same thing. Both of them are having an even hand. If it does turn into that sort of 4-2 half, you're really looking, for my money at least, as the second half being that definition. Now, I may be wrong about this.
All right, what are you going to say?
This is your moment to correct me. Who chooses the site? Is it based on the round difference in the first?
I don't think it is anymore. I think it's a coin flip, but you know that changes every now and then. But I believe this time it was a coin flip.
And I won't give a sturdy answer, but if it was down to choice, there's just an asterisk here because it was once in the rulebook. Whether
yes, it was once.
I'm not entirely sure. BDS would have chosen to start on their attack.
Yes, they would have at that point, and you know that would help them out quite a bit. As you can currently see, they are doing quite well.
So it's always worth remembering.
Aim is 3 or 4 rounds for the attack. Anything more than that is considered a huge bonus. And as BDS already have 3 on the board, well, from here on forward, they are only going to be able to, well, help themselves. Gunner taking a lot of damage, seemingly from the top of square, I believe, or from one of the windows to come through. So he wasn't really overextending himself.
BDS. A slow and steady lonesome approach. If I talk about the vastness of space and all that is contained, the lack of sound, trying to find somebody in the lobby is the same thing for the attackers and the defenders. We've seen the defenders punished more, but at this point, it's down to BDS to try and keep up that pace. The calls come across, and Bride is going to utilize this to just slink on past, make sure he doesn't get struck and get out of there before something else flies in his face.
That opening is the most important part, but Leak Effect coming up from the back again. He did this successfully the previous round, managed to get control of the main staircase. Now he finds himself at the bottom of square. Archives is a bomb site. If he manages to drone it out, realize that there is an opportunity to take it, or actually secure the kitchen for his team, suddenly they can start to collapse horizontally towards that side. Again, completely bypass the top floor.
The ping on the Frost mat, Rexon's going for a bit of a play, and there's the approach right across it. Are you gonna get lucky? No. Geometrics has the lockdown there, has a quick call, regardless of the calls. I think they sort of had the awareness, okay, they're trying to put pressure on it. Do we have the movement? Did we get the audio? They had something. Well, they got the drone a second before, but it's something that is the takeaway. He took a gamble, and it did not pay off, but now it's the back of BDS to sort of move in that way, can say, well, this was the start of the push. Can we find the end? There's a swing through. Concerned about the hole. Renchiro's in the site in the meantime, looking for a fight. It's going to be supported by Geo, but it pulls him out of position. So Shaiko might be able to get a response here. If anything, he has to. It's suddenly Shaiko and Alems, though. They bite back either side. The site becomes a little bit tumultuous because otherwise the rest of the hold is above. Apart from this, Gunnar, he's got the drop. He could rotate up if he wants to. He's maybe hoping to get a bit lucky and hope they drift into a position where he isn't checked. 30 seconds, BDS, what can you do?
They need to be quick here because the rotation is coming in from the square area. They have a Grixer will find Shaiko. Bride will live though with the diffuser, has the opportunity to make it towards the side. He needs to do so by safe ground as well. But in the meantime, I believe we also have the rotation coming down from Gunnar.
That's it. Gunnar's gone round on the opposite side. Bride's going to see if he can stick it. It's about to come to his right. He's able to get the swing. Alems, a massive kill. The pings are on the player. He gets the next. Alems for 3 on the round. Kansan is all that separates it. Almost in a clutch before, looking for the back of it now. Pre-fires one angle. They seem to have the watch and the awareness on where he is. 30 seconds. He's going to try and strong-arm his way through a very narrow rotation. It is dangerous. And they are not handing him anything. There's the first! And Alems gets 4.
I'm just going to be saying, well done, BDS, but you should not have won that round. The initial 2 kills came in on the back of crossfires. Soniqs, they had that perfectly locked off, unpunished for that at the start, until BDS suddenly bit back, brought it up to that 3v3, took the side under control and got that plan down. But again, BDS, basically the entire round, man count down, not having the opportunity to play the trade game themselves, and it's due to the fact that Soniqs was too far dispatched from the side itself, they couldn't actually, well, really capitalize onto the early openings they had.
Time to talk. And I think the importance, as you said, of that round being one that could have been Soniqs if they could capitalize on the back of it, but we have to look at what BDS did there. They just kept throwing players at the site.
Solution.
Yeah, it's like we can force players out of position by utility, by droning, by doing this and that, or Leak Effect going first. Okay, you've pulled one bit of attention. Then we'll send in Renshiro, pulls Geo's attention. Okay, and now we know that they're both in the site. Let's get them back. Like, it really was throw bodies at the problem like we're in the First World War.
I was going to say, so that's why they shouldn't have won it, right? Because the crossfires were there. The first 2 were basically impactless deaths on the side of BDS, and then slight mistakes being capitalized on by BDS, instantly bringing them back, and then throw bodies at the problem. Just keep tossing them in and hope for the best. And it worked out as we head back towards the lockers. Now, this is back to the first site setup we've seen in terms of the operator selection for Soniqs. Means the Falcon's coming out again. There's no echo, there's no pulse. This one was actually successful for BDS.
Yeah, I think it's that sort of change around. As the first time it was successful, but it came down to throwing the guns down and getting in with the engagements. They didn't really put the pressure on to open too much directly, as a lot of teams do. Instead, they shoveled themselves through on the back of Vault and Gold. The second was a clinic, but it was put on by Soniqs, and they diagnosed BDS with a loss. It really was just a bit of total control as a response to a failed push. It was easy pickups, and it looked rhythmic. But then, most of these other rounds have been back and forth. They're not quite having the same sort of explosive, exclusive engagements that they were able to sort of sign off on. They knew when fights were going to happen. Here, time and time again, they're seeming a little bit surprised.
For a quick take off the top floor there, of course, using the Gara hook quickly to enter Leak Effect. Finds himself in a position where he can at least allow himself to clear out that top floor a bit quicker than he usually would, which means that BDS have more time to systematically clear out the middle floor, not lose as many players, as much time as they otherwise would. Truly building an advantage for themselves, as you see happen right now. That's the fallback as well, so top floor, middle floor, completely abandoned by Soniqs.
I mean, they sort of had, you know, the feeling on the waves, the water wasn't lining up, you don't put the boat out. You pull yourself back in, and BDS, you hope to spend enough time clearing the rest that when the push comes to that final 30, you can just have the one extra sort of position. If you're going for a plant onto default, it is a war of attrition. You've got the smokes, you've got a C4, and maybe a couple of impacts if you're feeling spicy, and the spice of Goyo already prepped and placed in those positions. It's a lot of time and utility that you've got to be able to shake through, and sometimes it'll turn into a bit of a debonair dive behind the chassis to hope that you can even get the kit down.
I praise Soniqs for their adaptation on their defenses in the first map. However, remember the first round we had here, it was that vault and elevator drop. I don't think I see many players currently from the Soniqs watching the back line, even though that some utility has been placed. It's basically only Gunner in a position where he can swing. If that's 3 players again, you are almost guaranteed to lose out on that one, as Gio has been spotted out. He's going to be receiving a bit of fire from one side, and surely Capitão's going to be putting on the other.
Well, it's also worth talking about, he was the only one on this side as well. They sort of leave 2 isolated Ben, and here's 2 Frenchmen to see if they can get a response. Efak, he suffers from the side and the swing of an impact, but there's no more of those. This fire is going to force nothing, but it is going to force this. Brede, he pushes on the fight. There's a lot of fire for them to clear through, and there's one on the other side of this as well. Are they going to see if they can cheekily dig around it? They are, but it still gets popped anyway. Rexon, he's like, slow down, and he's like, slow down. Shaiko gets caught out, and Efak, he's going to go for the rotate round. He's offering support elsewhere. The quick play in place, and the timer. 3 smokes, they can cover the site. It's everything dropped. Efak, as I said, they're going to see if they can tuck in close, but Grix is there just as close. It's over the top. Efak saved. The C4's in the wrong place. Brede, he's holding the door. Renshiro gets one. They get one right back. Efak, he's going to tuck in underneath. Again, the game of do they know it? No! Instantly bit back by Grix, so they have the vertical control. Kansan, he might go and for the retake. They've got to see if they can bury at least one of these 2 players, and it's a tricky one. Do you try and go for that player above? Do you try and go for the long arm, or do you find Renshiro? He's got one. Kansan cannot find the next. And it was a 5-1 almost. This one at least is Soniqs. They have taken 2 rounds over about the past 20-ish.
Yeah, it's not going well for them. BDS definitely seem to be in a better, mind space currently. And they're headed over towards the defense now. Again, 48% over the tournament so far. Globally, Bank has been starting to go towards the attackers, which means Soniqs have an opportunity to get back into the game right now. However, when you went flawless against you on the first defense, you only managed to get a single round back on your own, and you find yourselves 1-5 behind. How, with no more tactical timeout, are you going to be able to turn this back around into your own favor?
Sorry, the correct was 15. I meant to say not 20. I can't
15
count.
rounds.
They've been able to find 2 over that many, roughly, just about.
Okay.
But I still believe that this will get closer than it currently is. Soniqs, they're now on the precipice of attack. They have the ability to put pressure. Their scoreline might not be so massively outstanding, but neither was BDS's in Border, and that did go the difference. And the distance in Border is, you know, a little bit more even-handed, I would say, than Bank can be. So Soniqs, they have maybe the start here. They've got the quick zip towards the top, as you said. It can lead into some quick clear, but they're just going to try and cut themselves on a hold here from BDS that actually hasn't really extended.
Yeah, BDS not really too worried about holding on to it. You mentioned it, that Tachanka is a operator that gets often played by BDS in this basement. So
I love it.
It is Brede that will bring it out together with the Shumika. We're also going to have the mirror problem to deal with. We're going to have the smoke canisters. So the war of attrition, as we call it before, it needs to start very soon, because otherwise Soniqs, they're not going to have enough time to actually find themselves in an opportunity to go for that plant, because everything is just going to be on fire all the time.
Look at this, Rexon, he's got confidence, and his confidence was almost punished. Renshiro is going to offer himself maybe some support there from the side. They're double stacked up, and that's a redrone there. He thought it was clear. It was not. Alems, he's now stacked up in this position. He's sort of trying to bait the next firefight itself. It's a Twitch drone. It's a big bit of utility to lose to just this. And look at this. Soniqs, they're looping themselves over, offering some support. Rexon got lucky to escape with his life there, and now he's got to see if he can push that luck and double down as the breach starts over the aforementioned lift that you said wasn't truly locked in before. Hey, get out of the way. I'll do this.
Rexon finds himself a safe space in towards the server. Gunner is going to be walking over as well. They know blue is going to be clear, and thus this starts the opening of the war of attrition. That wall will open up, fire will start coming in, or maybe even a smoke canisters instead, to make sure that this plant is going to be delayed as long as possible. A long angle to be created as well, but there's going to be a mirror window on the other side that Alems can hold. Not quite sure if this is the right play here.
I mean, this is traditional in most forms of ranked at least, but look at the stack up here. They're going to see if they can try and lead themselves through. Rexon, I think, is going to see if he can get the Twitch drone against it. Maybe try and dig it across the board. There's still pops over the top. The first gets caught. And that's the one that BDS was utilizing to watch the back end stair set. They're going to see if they can try and smoke some of this pressure, smoke out the mirror window, but BDS has long since practiced this angles. They're wasting time. And that's it, the deep dive right towards the same place the plant went on last time. Rexon gets the first. Alems has no idea the plant's going down. He's seeing if he can find the angle, but it's Grixer to get the next, and Gunner, he gets it locked in. Shaiko's on the door. He doesn't know there's a player in the smoke right next to him. That's going to get revealed in a moment by that form. There's a close fight, and there's at least one more back in, but a post-plant. Renshiro with the shotgun, and Gio with the rotate round towards the hatch. They're pulling off. They know that they can keep the vertical. They know that they can keep this controlled, and if I talked about impossible situations, this is one of them. Soniqs, they had a lot of ground, and they made good use of it.
Good use of the smoke as well. They're blocking off the lines aside of the mirror window, letting them think that the plant was going to be behind the bomb chassis. Instead of close to the pillar, they planted themselves. No utility thrown there. C4 maybe released a bit prematurely there, especially with the amount of smoke and fire that was going on. It's unlikely to catch anybody out. And Soniqs, they find their second. Started their road on the way back towards an equal scoreline, but fact is that they can afford to slip up once, not twice, because that second one would have meant the end of the game and series. So as we head to open area now, what will they bring to make sure they can go for a plant? I think they will try and attack the actual stock side of things, maybe hope to dig in right behind the bomb chassis on the kitchen. But it is, you know, a question of, in a matter of time, before we find out exactly what Soniqs is planning to do. The Ossa was quickly hovered over, but instantly taken out. The Thatcher is coming through, which, you know, usually to get rid of anything, I think on that quad wall, would it be placed there?
BDS, you have time, you have the ability to try and build something here, and you've got the chance at a roam. Unfortunately for me, and my money, and probably yours, your own players, they haven't quite been able to get that contribution as this. Renshiro is having a huge game. Alems has been able to pick up some of the pieces dropped before, and BDS is still on a good par. Not as intense as he was in the second map, but still. Shaiko and Likefak, they currently haven't really been able to contribute, and this is the moment where that's going to cost them potentially the most, because this is the moment where these players need to be at their sharpest. The movements they've got to make on bank have to be pitch perfect. We've seen huge plays, huge defining moments in the pockets of an Oryx here. Can they be ones that Likefak can pull together against the Soniqs growth?
Now the bottom floor has been cleared out. Top floor, not just yet. So I think Soniqs are just trying to go for a bit of a direct push. You see the impact team, the EMP coming out so they can get rid of the mirror window. This will truly put BDS on the pressure and allow them a safe way into the kitchen. Was enough for Renshiro to still be out there at the bottom of the square, having the opportunity to put up the pressure. Likefak taking a bit of damage as well. Drones are coming through to trying to find that safe space on the Soniqs side.
I mean, this is it. Look at how Soniqs have just forced them directly back to site. There's sort of two ways of doing it. Oh, maybe three, actually. Now, as we see that BDS did it by throwing bodies at the problem, they've just thrown themselves directly at the site itself. They've sort of said, we're popping it open, and BDS have to go, okay, we need to be aware of this, and we need to respond. They've gone for a bit of a retake above. That drone will just get caught out. Alems, he's giving himself that corner angle, the rotates. We can swing around on the back end. Defak, he's going for the rotate underneath, but it's Gunner that finds Shaiko. Once again, the first body falls, and it's in the favor of Soniqs. They still have some presence around Archives, and Rexon's tucked himself dangerously close. But it's Renshiro with a long-arm firefight. The second just swings around. They can't get a connection, and Renshiro needs a reload.
To reload that SMG, a grenade comes through, is going to be downing Brede, but he is still able to be picked up, just not really in a safe space. Gio will find the Lems, and that is an effective 2v5 situation now. Are Likafek and Renshiro able to bring this back or hold on to it? It's seeming very unlikely here.
I mean, this is it. They're really struggling to sort of hold on to where the approach of Soniqs is coming from. They've gotten a little bit patient. The plant is going down. They've only got the reveal there, and there's the swing just in time. Grixer popped up on the window. Renshiro, look at where he's been the whole round. He's not really been able to have any impact on this approach, and he's got to have the biggest now. Finds the first, suffers the second. Can't quite get the full connection, and there is another Soniqs round.
And if you look at the amount of control that has been taken by Soniqs, it is very minimal. The bottom of square taken, part of the bottom floor completely. They open up the wall, that's it. There was no one else really putting up any pressure there, except for, of course, a Dokui coming in from the back at the end. But that shows that you do not need a lot of room to get those rounds on the board. And now, BDS headed back towards the lockers themselves, also not wanting to go for a tertiary site yet.
It feels a little bit like that first map, BDS, but maybe it's just the nature of these maps itself. There's a caution that gets paid. There's a sort of substance of we'll pull ourselves a bit further back, the slight adaptation and the coverage of the smoke. Shaiko, he's got those fancy glasses, and Alems, he's got the Echo. They're going to go for something a little bit more hands-off because, well, hey, if they keep sort of taking these small pockets of control and going for the plant, let's try and play against that. Let's try and play against that time. We've got the same sort of setup and pickup. They've rolled in towards the break and the breach with those Capitao smokes and the bolts, whether BDS hand over as much territory as they did before. The fact that it almost started with an easy free take onto a Twitch and ended with a complete lookout by Soniqs shows BDS needs to try and find another number, or if this round goes against them, expect a conversation.
I like the change towards the warding. You mentioned it, Shaco, those magical glasses, especially with the way the execute went. BDS realized, like, we need something to at least be able to deal with this if this does go wrong. Let's get a bit of Lems onto that. Echo and the Yokai. It's going to be making sure there's a bit more security out there as well. But you're just going to make sure that Soniqs is not allowed to take this server room for free without any true pressure, because if you do that, well, they could just start opening it up and mentioned before, start that war of attrition. So Renshiro is coming back. They know there's a bit of pressure coming down with the drones rolling out.
Rexon ain't risking it. I think he's realized he got a little bit lucky last time in terms of not getting dropped, and BDS have stepped it up. They're paying a bit more attention, and his life is needed elsewhere. It's something we've complimented the Soniqs on a few times, is that they can do these sort of movements and rotations. Wrong airs, not a catch. Wrong hatch, wrong place and play, and well, they lose one, and the ability to maybe go for that is a risk on a second. The Kaid is still roughly around that space, but it's a little bit more dangerous this time.
That was the hatch that Soniqs could not open up the last time they were here on their successful round. They were forced to be playing it from the other hatch solely. And now they are going to be able to open up both. That is definitely going to be widening their attack a little bit. That could be problematic for BDS because a drop from that hatch, or at least cover, could be coming through, basically putting Shaiko in a bit of a more difficult position to truly step in and use those glasses if smoke grenades are being used.
Here it is, Soniqs, once again, not only battening down the hatches, but breaking and smashing them. Rexon, ooh, will this be a freebie? Ow, 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 done. Oh, Shaiko almost saves the life of Alems.
It's at least the garage taken care of, but Brede falls. Puts a bit of a fire down, but that is going to be the two denial operators off the board. The plans could be happening relatively safely now, but BDS, they need to be careful that the flank is not coming through. There's no drops from the elevator coming in as the actual nail into the coffin. But it seems for now that Soniqs indeed want to be going for the traditional take. Open up that wall, and after that, try and see if they're able to dig in that plant closely to that wall. And as the smoke canisters are about to be coming out, or smoke bolts from Gio, that is definitely going to be the call.
The C4 goes, and it's baited and played early, but it hits the fire. Shaiko, he's watching through. He wants to try and swing onto this, and, well, EFAC does the same. There's the drop inside the vault, the lockdown in 15 seconds. The man with the kits on the far end, and there's the pickup on the close vault here. Shaiko, he's waiting for a drop on the hatch. Renshiro gets dropped on the push. They're trying to find a way to put the kit down. The spray is Shaiko's. Now with a single coverage on the plant, does he know they're both inside? They know where he is, and it's got to be down to this. EFAC from above, he gets one. He just needs the read on the next. That'll give some of the game away. Grixer pulls himself back, takes care of the default. The ping is in their favor. The drone gets it back. A huge play! And we talk about the importance of verticality. Well, now we talk about the importance of perfection. Soniqs, 3 rounds are all you need to keep the dream alive. The best you've ever done. Can it be a little bit better? BDS, can you, for the first time in a lot of people's books, live up to some of the hype and expectation? Your dream is separated by 1.
Likifeki made it a bit difficult for himself there to not truly swing as the plant was going down, potentially not the sound, but the clutch makes up for it. And you just heard it in the crowd. 1 more round is all they need to find themselves in the grand finals. Match point, series point. BDS, are you here for greatness? They definitely want to reach it. They had a very good second map of Club that definitely put a bit of a dent into Soniqs. All they need to do now is complete the job. The chant is back.
I mean, it's taken a while, but fair enough. And the reason it's taken this while is because Soniqs have put in a great fight. You sort of put aside the middle map at this point, it's still anyone's game by a lot of books, but I mean, to be honest, we've seen Soniqs do best when they're being shouted at by opponents. Not that it's coming from BDS themselves. I would be surprised if it's counted out as of this moment. BDS. They need to just find these dots connected 1 more time. And it might be a stretch here over the top. The first time we've really seen a big rotation from them, and it leads to a round win. Who'd have thunk?
Top floor being taken under control by Kansan. There is a drone up on the main stairs. They know Likifek is out there, but a C4 is being prepared by Renshiro. He's trying to bring the pressure back to himself, make sure that that top floor control is not going as smoothly as it might be for Soniqs. Drone set up on the main staircase there to make sure no flanks will come through. Top of square being taken as well. We're of course talking about open area the last time. All Soniqs needed to do was take control of the bottom of square, open up the quad wall. They found themselves a way in to go for that plant. Are we going to see the same from them now? It is definitely the Sledgehammer putting up some pressure. It is definitely the BDS players looking up, trying to get that C4 through. That is Kansan off the board. Renshiro.
There is the first strike, and firing away the earliest, the second. Geo makes sure things don't intently slip away. A late castle barricade rebuilds the back of the window. Gunner. He's watching, waiting. They're a body down, but they've bit back from this before, and now's the drive to a site that is entirely swarmed by the power of the French, a hot hatch. And they have the pockets to be able to make those soft and openable, but what is currently not looking at is the hold itself. A bit of more utility is needed to break through the castle in the back end. Gunner, he's drifting and hoping to get lucky. But at this point, France, they seem less likely to hand over this luck.
Opening will be made with the hard breach gadget. That is the hatch gone. That is a player to be repositioned after that. Or not. Shaiko just decides to continue on, wants to take this fight, and a drone soon will be giving away his position. At least the phone call will. He's rotating now. He doesn't want to stick around. It is going to be too dangerous. The wall, or at least the window, has been opened up against Soniqs. How are you going to be approaching this? Is it going to be a drop-in? Are you going to be going through the window? Who knows? But 35 seconds are left. Your opportunities are running out.
Rexton, he just got the early taste of a player paying attention to a window, but the late drop might buy him a little bit more of a surprise strike. The calls come out and Geo on the backboard, but Brede, ever excellent, gets 1 more. They're looking for the fight, and Shaiko goes down. Geo, he slipped his way in the sight, and now he's the only one left. BDS, they broke it down and had to rebuild, but boy, does it
one must have been devastating. They struck back with a 7-1 victory, and they find Bank with a 7-3. They will go to the grand finals. They will play against LATAM to make sure that we stay in control of the majors.
BDS, they look at a curse and they say not today. Unfortunately, we have to say the same to Soniqs, who have played an exceptional tournament that cannot be removed or denied from them. They put in a fantastic fight throughout the whole thing. A bit of a slow first day, and unfortunately for them, they were one day short of making it all the way. But if we can say BDS rebuilt on the back of a fresh face, we know this is so far from the last we will see of Soniqs 2. However, French Siege, where have you been? Apparently up here.
They're getting back into it. They are ready for that grand final, and now LATAM will have to decide who their champion will be to take on the French for that major trophy.
I mean, they've put in a show, and you have to sort of give them credit for the growth that's come on their side here, for rebuilding behind it. There were games and rounds where we didn't quite have individual players. That used to be a death sentence for BDS. If they've proven that it isn't, whoever they are up against in the finals knows it will be a worthy adversary.
It definitely will be, but we do have to give credits out to Soniqs as well. They had to rebuild themselves as well over the stage. Many doubted them as they came in and had a bit of a, well, slow starter to the groups. And look at where they were now. Top 4, they can be proud of that.
I mean, they have to be at this point. They've proven a lot of sort of doubters within the region wrong. They've been able to take the top crown, and there's no denying it, because Parker and Pengu do a draw where they had to. And here they find themselves still on the back of a sort of major change. They were one of the longest time rosters built around that old school Siege. But for now, it's down to our main man, Ian Chambers, and the victors.
Emmy, thank you very much. I'm standing here on the stage with LMs. Before I say a word, you just played your part in helping BDS secure their spot in a major grand final for the very first time. I just want you to initially talk me through your emotions. What are you thinking right now?
Like, I'm so proud. Like, I'm so happy to be playing with those guys. Like, it's amazing. I'm feeling great. Like, very happy, and like I can't speak. Like, I'm speechless.
That semi-final, it didn't get off to the best start. You lost the first map. I have to ask, what do you think Soniqs were thinking taking BDS to Clubhouse? What was the thought behind that?
So, like, I don't know what they were expecting, but for the funny part, we practiced them before the event, like at the event actually, like before it starts, and the practice was like pretty close. I don't know why they picked it. Maybe they felt like confident on it, but we are also. So, I think we just did a better work on this map.
Feels like you're a very solid unit, a very solid team at the moment. After that first map, what sort of a conversation did you have with each other going into map 2?
So we were very disappointed about our first map. We didn't play like we were supposed to do. Like, Border is one of our main map. We shouldn't have lost that, to be honest. But after the first map, we were disappointed. But the way that we played, the way that we communicate, like each other, was like 0 on 10, like so bad. And we are like to flex, like the coach talked to us and said, now you have like one map. If you do the same thing, we are gone. We will go back to Paris tomorrow. Like it's over. So now I want you to like just start on Clubhouse. It's not your map, but in your heart, you know, it's your map. You know. So just give the best on Clubhouse. Fight for every round, every kills, and that's what we did. And I think after we just had a very good mental that came back, and that's it.
I'll tell you what, the crowd have definitely shown up today. Can we just all agree on that, please? You must be... You must be hearing them, right? Is it driving you on? What's it like being in front of an EU crowd here?
Yeah, to be honest, personally, and I think a lot of players in the team, we never played in a crowd environment because of the pandemic and stuff.
Of course.
So happy to be in the first major final for us and in front of an European crowd. So it's obviously it's amazing. So and we will do our best to make you progress. Don't worry.
All right, I've got one last question, and I want the crowd and you to answer this at the same time. Are BDS about to win their first ever major?
I don't want to jinx, so I won't say anything. I don't want to jinx it.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay, I like that. I respect that modesty. Thank you so much. I want you to go and celebrate and to go and prepare for what is an epic best of 5 coming your way tomorrow. Your winners will be determined. Your opponents will be determined a little bit later on. But for now, to pick apart that EU win, of course, I am crossing back over to our illustrious desk with Milos and the crew.
Thank you very much, Steve. Yes, we're back on the analyst desk, and BDS have done it finally! For the first time in forever, it feels, BDS and a French team are on the grand final stage. Let me take you back. Now, there's some OGs in there, they'll know exactly. You know when the last time a French team was in the grand final of a major event, like a Pro League event, SI, or a major event? Year 2, year 1, season 2, so which is season 2 overall in competition.
Jönköping?
2016, Jönköping that won against Orbit, which is Kix's old team.
Wow.
This is how long ago it has been. You can account the DreamHack, yes, Millennium BEG in there, DreamHack Austin 2018, but that's it. We're talking rarely. And BDS have never, ever made a grand final at a main event like this.
And they've carried the weight of the expectation of the whole of Europe for the past 2.5 years in terms of making it.
Yep.
They've finally done it. They finally broke through and made that grand final, and they did it in some style as well.
No pressure.
Isn't it surprising that they're doing it without pressure? I think that was the determining factor, right? But before that, I just want to say, we've talked so much about how Liquefact was such a great addition in-game, right? How they've made him more comfortable and better and break the ceiling that they had in 2022. I just want to give props to Stuflex too. I think he brought a lot out of game. And I think that it really tightened the bonds in the team. And that's super important to get along. You know, when you're reaching the final 20 seconds, 30 seconds of execution, what really matters is the communication. When you have tight bonds within players, this is when you can get done everything in a short amount of time.
And they've got that composure. We saw this time and time again, not just in Clubhouse, but also in Bank as well, where that late round, that decision-making where you've got to flip on a switch, make a decision and stick with it. Everyone's got to have precise communication. They had it. They won those attacks convincingly.
And this is not to knock on Soniqs.
Absolutely not.
This is the furthest they've ever gotten. This is a crew of players that are incredibly talented, and they've been able to make it off of basically little experience.
Yeah, and I just want to add, like, actually watching Soniqs play, they tried new stuff. I see Rexen, he tried multiple times to win those opening engagements. I think he was trying to get back the pacing, as we talked about. The problem was he maybe not have picked the best, gunfights. It wasn't the most favorable gunfights, high reward, or high risk, high reward,
When you change out 2 players and 2 core players and you bring in a new backline in Geo and Gunnar, what are your expectations when you make the major? Is making the major enough? Is making quarterfinals enough? Semifinals? That roster, despite the fact that they're going to be disappointed they didn't make the final, sure, they've achieved above and beyond probably what their expectations were for this event, and they can be absolutely proud of how they played.
And who is our MVP for this matchup? Well, we'll figure that out right now as it goes on the screen right next to us. There it is. It's BDS, as we like to call the team, and the player himself, 22-15, not too bad. 5 clutches and plants in this game.
I'm not surprised at all. The man does it all, right? He is in one of the hardest role, to frag. He still frags. At the same time, he has the best utility usage. At the same time, the guy plants, he clutches, he does everything. He's one of the best support in the world, if not the best support in the world.
One of the criticisms of BDS coming into this tournament was there's a reliance on EFAC, there's a reliance on Shaiko. And we've seen Bride pop off across this series. We saw Renshiro on Bank specifically pop off as well. This is a complete team outfit. We've not spoke about Lems, who's holding all of this together with the glue. And I think that's where BDS, and like you said, with Stuflex coming in as well, I'm trying to look and pinpoint a weakness, and I'm struggling to find a specific trend of weaknesses. Sure, there's small little mistakes in rounds here and there, but an actual weakness of this team, I'm finding it very hard to find one.
And if anything, Renshiro has been holding angles since 2016, and he's still holding angles like nobody else here in Europe and internationally, really, in general. But our match summary, let's put it up on the screen for you to see all the players and their performance. Currently, we are at 7-3 BDS, beating out Soniqs on Bank. That first half was incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny to see Renshiro doing so much better too. I think that he wasn't necessarily one of the players that most people were looking at when looking at BDS. Obviously, when you're surrounded by Shaiko, Likefak, Bride, and even LMs, people aren't paying attention to everyone. But I really feel, like Jack said, it's a full team with now a coach that has been able to glue everything together. I just feel like they might be major ready now.
All right. Well. Major ready. That's a grand final we're looking at for BDS. That'll be tomorrow. But look who joined us over on the telestration station. It's our good old friend, Mr. Jack Allen Jackson Fresh. Hello.
Hello, Milos.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm all right.
I'm ready to take you through a BDS attack. Now, I spoke about how decisive they were on Bank. And I just want to set the scene realistically is, with Bank attacks, where you want to end up is you want to end up attacking and planting in the side that is the server side, in the A-bomb site. Now, when the win condition of the defense is Goyo canisters, is smoke grenades, is multiple C4s, you've got to make a call on a cost-benefit analysis. Can we go for this plant, or do we need to push deep? Now, what BDS do is they drone out multiple times. You're going to see Geo playing inside the server. They drone him out multiple times, and they actually have a genius idea. They said, we're going to fake like we're attacking Geo, and then we're going to rotate, drop the lobby hatch, and then just flood lobby. Now, what you're going to see is a load of fire. Now, this fire, you might not be able to see it, so I'm just going to put some more fire on the screen. I've been wanting to use that all weekend. I'm not going to lie. They fake out that there's a load of fire. Geo's going to go, boys, I'm being pushed server. They're all coming server for me. Take the attention towards server. And then what are they going to do? They go and push lobby. Now, one thing to note, EFAC doing his little rat thing on the backstab, on the push on the back. But the main push, decisively, on a coin flip, chooses, right, we go for the lobby hatch, we drop the lobby hatch, and we push deep. So you're going to see 3 on the lobby hatch. Shaiko's playing the hallway hatch, you just see it there. And then they're going to all drop at the same time. And Renshiro, we spoke about how good he is. Without hesitation, he sticks to the plan no matter what. Whether he gets 3 kills or he dies, they all push in. Leafak pushes in the back, gets the kill, flawless round. Round 1 started us off on Bank, and that was probably the most comfortable attack I've ever seen from BDS.
There you go. Thank you very much, Jack. Walk on in. You're back to the desk. Our next match, though, is an all-Brazil matchup. W7M versus Team Liquid, and that will determine the second grand finalist, but also the best team in Brazil. Now, we're going to talk about this later in the pre-match, the kind of trifecta that happens between W7M, Liquid, and FaZe Clan in the region, and more. That's for a bit later. So, who do you think is, I guess, the best opponent that BDS can have for the final? Talk to me with your heart and then with your mind.
That's such a hard question.
I'll go first. With my heart, I think a BDS Liquid final, because they've both got very similar narrative arcs of teams that should have won a major and won an invitational by now that haven't. But W7M, I just think it would be the most explosive game ever. W7M against BDS in this tournament. I'm honestly happy whichever team joins them.
Yeah, just think for the show, maybe W7M, just to see the aggression on both sides, Shaiko versus KZ, this kind of storyline, and also
Julio versus LM.
Yeah. I mean, the rivalry is there to be that top contender, but also Liquid, right? Like you said, I mean,
Can all 3 of them just play?
Yeah,
in and out.
It's the 2 teams that deserve a title, have been deserving of a title for so long. So seeing them face and being sure that at least one will get a title would be amazing.
All right. I think that sets it up perfectly for our second matchup. coming up later today. And I want to hear what you guys actually think will happen for our next matchup and who actually goes to the grand final. We'll hear it here, obviously, in the stadium later on in that second matchup, but also let us hear it on socials, in the Twitch chat, etc., etc. Fresh Alpha, thank you very much. That was game number 1 for today. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it's all Brazil, W7M versus Team Liquid. Who goes to the grand final? We'll find out.